We just pressed the Let's Go Live button over here a little bit early for a Friday, but we've got a lot of business to attend to. We had a ridiculous yet historic day yesterday, ton of fallout we're about to dive into. But before we can get started, we got to make sure those tubes are connected all across the fruited plain of the interwebs on this lovely Friday morning. And I hope your week is unfolding extremely beautifully, absent yesterday's wrecking of America's judicial system. All right, it looks like we're live on YouTube. Looks like we're coming on over on Rumble. We got Locals is firing up. That's tremendous news, my friends. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about the fallout, the aftermath of the verdict. Of course, Donald Trump convicted, asterisk, 34 counts, falsifying business records, ton of reaction. Yesterday, we unpacked what happened in court when the jurors came out and followed the paint by numbers assignment from Judge Mercan, just allowing them to basically pick whatever they want, pick a crime, any crime. It was like a buffet, all you can eat. And they did what we expected them to do. Not a big surprise there, but a lot of fallout. Trump is going to speak in about 1 hour from now. And so we've got a couple of sources queued up on this. We've got Fox News, which is going to be reporting it. Looks like they've got that queued up down there at the bottom. We also have Right Side Broadcasting, which is now almost live. And so we'll be turning our attention over there to the president when the time is right. But before that happens, we got some business to attend to. So we're going to see what Trump said on True Social last night. They were very busy on the True Social account. And so we'll go through, see what his reaction is. And what he's done is shared a lot of reaction from other people. So we got Marco Rubio's on the list. Jim Jordan's on the list. JD Vance was on the list. Trump is just retruthing a bunch of videos and other commentary there. So we'll go through some of those. Of course, we retruth those on our account. So if you want to follow along, that's where you'll find us. Biden, Harris, they came out with a statement. Now, they told us that they were going to make some sort of kind of an announcement, I thought. I thought that they were going to do like an Oval Office address. Joe Biden was going to come out, but he didn't do that for whatever reason. And he's in Delaware. We know he was in Delaware, evidently, to remember his son, even though I don't think he can remember much of anything. But they were honoring his anniversary, so they didn't really do a press briefing, but we'll take a look and see what they said via text. We also have some reaction from the left. And if you're feeling a little bit, tired today, or like your blood pressure is low, or like you need something to energize you and really anger you to increase the boiling point of what's happening inside of our bodies, well, good news. We're going to do that this morning. So we've got Hillary Clinton, who is mocking this. So she has committed more crimes than Donald Trump could ever dream of committing. And she comes out and says, is there anything going on today? And the little monsters in the crowd are just clapping like dumb seals, like the dumb seals that they resemble. So that is what's happening there. Norm Eisen, who helped orchestrate this whole thing, that guy's a piece of something too. He is saying, throw Trump in jail. And they would like to do that. I don't know if they're going to cross that line, but they would like to do that. And Jen Psaki, there's a clip of her. Apparently she's telling Democrats, you guys better hold your horses here on this, okay? You have awoken the beast. Sleeping giant is now being activated all across America and the fruited plains of the world. So don't celebrate. You better not rub their noses in it, because it's going to come back to bite us. I think that's what she says. We'll see. We also have CNN. They're saying, look, the chances on appeal are great. And then we'll jump over and we'll see what Trump says when that comes up. Then we got some other segments that we're going to squeeze in today. We've got Jack Smith. These are good updates. Jack Smith really gets embarrassed by Judge Cannon. It's been a wild back and forth on this. Last week, or was it last week, earlier this week, I can't recall. but we talked about Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa on the classified documents case, was submitting another request to have Trump gagged again because Trump said that he was under attack from the feds because the feds launched a raid on Mar-a-Lago. And of course, we know FBI raids people all the time. And guess what? People die during FBI raids when they're executing warrants. So it's not outside of the ordinary for anybody on the right to say, maybe the Secret Service shouldn't have had a use of force policy. Maybe they should not have done the raid in the first place. And if they would have acted with some prudence and some honor, they wouldn't have engaged in a political prosecution of their opponent anyways, when they found documents in Joe Biden's office as well. So my point is, we'll go through this. They wanted Trump gagged, and Trump filed a response, which is a doozy. And they also dropped the emails back and forth. So we're going to read some of Jay Bratt's emails, the Florida Oompa Loompa, and see what he said. Because remember, he said, we conferred, Judge Cannon. We went and talked to Trump's defense team. And they rejected us and all this thing. You go, what? Weirdos, you dropped it on a Friday night on Memorial Day weekend. It's not meaningful conferral. All right, so Cannon came out, absolutely just gave him the old backhand, and we'll break down, very short opinion, which is why it's such a backhand. It's like, you're not even worth talking to, Jack. Get the heck out of here. Pa! Proverbial backhand. You know, we don't condone any political violence here at all, and that's not a joke. But we got Andrew Weissmann. He says, this is absolutely outrageous, what Judge Cannon has done. And Raskin is also supposed to be in this segment down over here. Hello, Rob. What are you doing? It's too early. You can tell. All right. So anyways, that's going to be all in the second segment. Then in the third segment, we'll get an update on what's going on with the Supreme Court, because they also slapped down Democrats, baby. It was good. So remember, the Democrats were whining about Alito's flags. He had a flag on his property, and the Democrats had a meltdown about it. And it's an old flag that George Washington flew. And so he explains it. Of course, Alito responded to this. Democrats, in their letter, this came out from the Senate, they were very furious. They sent this letter to Judge Chief Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. And they said, we need a meeting because Judge Alito had some flags flying around his property. Turns out it was his wife flying the flags, and he didn't even know what the heck it was what they're talking about. And he said, no, I'm not going to meet with you, lunatics. We don't meet with legislators. And so he responded and said, nice, here's my explanation for it. But no, we're not coming over. Don't come over here. We don't want to talk to you. And then Judge Roberts also responded. And he said, I didn't really read your letter, and I don't really know what the hell's going on. Don't really care. But my understanding is Judge Alito responded. This matter is resolved. Have a nice life. Get the hell out of here. So that was a lot of fun. So we'll see what he says. And then Raskin is saying we can just force them to recuse themselves. So he says, why don't we just get the DOJ to come out and maybe indict them, maybe arrest them? Or I don't even know what he's going to say, but we'll read through the article. I just saw it come across from I think he wrote an op-ed in whatever this was, Time, who cares, New York Times, whatever, some loser anyway. So Raskin is out once again trying to interfere with our justice system like he does the elections, like he does with Congress, like he does with everything. So we'll go through that, my friends. We got 3 great segments planned. I'm really grateful that you are here and with us. Hopefully we are all a little bit less agitated today. You know, I was a little agitated yesterday. Maybe came across. I'm sure you were too. It was a day. It was a day. So we now move forward beyond that and take that energy, and like judo masters, we repurpose it into victory in 2024. And that is happening out there. And so we got 3 good segments to get to today. We're excited to do it. Before we jump into it, we got a bird flu update, man. Have you heard this? We got another worker infected with the bird flu. Ugh! 3rd U.S. dairy worker in Michigan, and so infected. So Michigan's going to expand the testing, Reuters reporting. The first to suffer respiratory problems. Oh, no. The infection was the 2nd human case in Michigan, which has confirmed more cases of bird flu in dairy cattle than in any other state. Also expands the symptoms. 2 other workers previously were just focused on conjunctivitis, conjunctivitis, and pink eye and other things. So, all right. You know, it sounds like we're flashing back a little bit. Not good. What can we do well, we can get prepared. We can have life-saving medications on hand, courtesy of our friends at the Wellness Company. They have a prescription contagion emergency kit, the only kit of its kind that assembles a bunch of different medications for you in case you need them. And they provide you with a carefully selected assortment, all sorts of good stuff in there: hydroxychloroquine, Z-Paks, Tamiflu, budesonide, nebulizers. Just rest easy. It's all bundled up there for you. It's backed by research from experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. And so every American should have at least one of these kits in their home. Very easy to order. Takes less than 2 minutes. Go to twc.health/Robert. Links are in the description below. And use code Robert when you check out so that you can save on your kits and you'll get free shipping. It is very easy. It comes quickly. You can safeguard your health today. Go to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert at checkout. And these kits are only available in the United States. Make sure you check it out. Links in the description below. Our friends at the Wellness Company. All right. So without any further ado, my friends, we've got business to attend to today and a lot of reaction to yesterday's injustice. And so let's get right to it. Donald Trump announces that he will be responding to the verdict. Well, he has already said that. Let's just try that again. Donald Trump addresses America, and he is responding to the guilty verdict, but he's not alone. A lot of other people are taking this opportunity to spike the football. Whack jobs like Hillary Clinton and Norm Eisen are really excited about this, not recognizing that they have awoken a sleeping giant. The website for Trump went down because of the reaction from many of us and you who have been looking at how we can support the president. So Trump is speaking to America, but he's also reposting a bunch of other reaction from people like Marco Rubio, Jim Jordan, and others. We'll see what he said and go through some reaction before we tune in to the president himself when he addresses America in the aftermath of this case verdict. So here is what Trump posted over on Truth. He says, press conference tomorrow. That's today, 11 a.m. He's going to be speaking at the Trump Tower atrium, and that will be coming up very soon. But here is what he posted over on Truth Social. Several different things in reaction to the verdict from court in Manhattan. And for whatever reason, the website over on Truth is not loading right now. Perfect timing. Glad that's happening in the middle of a live stream. All right, let's see what the president says. He says, my bookkeeper called a legal expense on the tiny description line of the ledger, called it a legal expense. It was openly paid to my lawyer, at that time a fully accredited one. I was not involved in that designation, but what else could you have called it? It was, in fact, a legal expense. That is the so-called crime. On top of that, I wasn't allowed by the judge to use in any form the standard reliance on counsel defense. And my lawyer at that time did virtually everything on the non-disclosure agreement. And I assumed that what he did was correct. I did nothing wrong. And frankly, there was nothing done wrong. NDAs are standard. They're commonly used and legal. MAGA 2024 witch hunt. If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. And that is absolutely true. Think about the consequence of this if you're a power broker in New York. You are now under potential threat. All you have to have is Alvin Bragg or Tish James or one of these other lunatics there open up an inquiry into your business and go, crap. You get your CFO on the phone. Hey, man, how good are you with those drop downs there in QuickBooks? They're like, no, for real. Like, did you mark anything as a legal expense? I just got this letter from Alvin Bragg. So now you just do whatever they want, right? They have total control of the whole entity just due to threat of prosecution. It opens the floodgates for corruption. They now have the power. If they can take out Trump, who else? Are you kidding me? Trump has half the country at his back. What about some other dude who's just the CEO of some organization who has contracts with New York? They are now under the thumb of these maniacs. So Trump is right about that. Now, he also posted a couple other stories and videos from people reacting, including this one. which is J.D. Vance, who's on the short list for the VP slot. Here's what J.D. said.
The one thing I will say, Jesse, and I'm hearing from constituents all over the state of Ohio, they're frustrated, they're angry, and they're saying, how can we help? What can we do? They feel so powerless, which I certainly understand because this sham prosecution is happening in New York, so far away from the state of Ohio. The answer is get involved, Jesse. Go to DonaldJTrump.com, support the president, volunteer for him, donate for him, and please, for the love of God, vote for him in November. Because, Jesse, the thing that we've learned is that these far-left people, they don't respect anything but power. That is the only language they speak, and the only way for us to fight back successfully is to elect Donald Trump in November.
Yeah, that's right. And some people on the Republican side are not getting that. They're still saying, well, we'll just go through the appeals process and we'll just get this reversed and everything will be fine. Okay, what, like 2026? We'll get a clarity on that? Thanks. We have an election to win. And this has now become blood sport, unfortunately, in the court of law. And if we keep having this game of patty cake, like the college Republicans posted something, well, although we're unhappy with the outcome, we must respect the verdict of the jurors. What? No, we don't respect this process. I don't have any particular problem with the jurors. Don't know anything about the jurors. I know that there were several jurors who hate Trump. They should have recused themselves. They made comments about that specifically. The judge still threw them on there. Meanwhile, other Trumpers are like, well, I kind of like the guy, so I kind of have some bias. I kind of like the guy, so I thought I'll maybe pull myself out. You go, what are you doing? All right, so J.D. Vance is right. The other Republicans who are not speaking out about the injustice, this has been something we've been railing about here for feels like years now. Then they come out after the fact. Mike Johnson, I'm very upset about this verdict. Oh, really? Are you, Mike? Do you have an idea for solving this? Like maybe you should, I don't know, run for Congress, become the Speaker of the House. That might give you some power. Maybe you could do something about it then. All right, here's Jim Jordan. He was also out explaining that Trump had the best line here. It doesn't matter what the verdict is. The people are going to override it. The people are going to veto this injustice with their own votes on November.
I still think the best line of the day came from President Trump, and you've said it already. But when President Trump came out and said the real verdict will be on November 5th, he couldn't be more right. Because that day, we, the people, will decide who's going to win, who's going to be our president, not some partisan judge, not some political prosecutor, not 12 people from Manhattan, but we, the people, 330 million of us get to decide on that day. That, to me, is the real takeaway here. And I think the American people are going to be clearly and strongly for President Trump. You can feel that. You saw what happened with the website today. You know, President Trump uses a line that I think is so good when he's out on the stump, when he's at these rallies. He says, they're coming after my freedom because I'm fighting for yours. And I think the country sees that even more clear today. And that's why I think he's going to win.
Yeah, I think people have a visceral reaction to bullies and cheaters. And that's what we're watching right now. And it doesn't really matter what side of the aisle you're on. You don't like that because it's an anti-human tendency that unfortunately we see a lot of. So Trump also had another reaction from Marco Rubio, and let's get that one queued up. Here is Marco, who is also making the rounds, also on the short list for VP. Here is Marco.
But look, here's the end of the day. The best way to deal with this is, number one, go to DonaldJTrump.com, sign up to volunteer, donate, because we need to win this election. That's number two. The real verdict is going to be in November when we win that election. And then I think truly down the road, we're going to have to look at a way, Democrats and Republicans, hopefully together, but I don't know, to prevent this kind of thing from happening again in the future. We cannot become one of those countries where people, once they leave office, are targeted through the court system by their political opponents. That's what happens in Peru. That's what's happened in Brazil. That's what's happened in all these countries. It cannot happen here. And that is the direction we are headed right now with what's happened here today. I know voters are going to be outraged. Trump's going to win this election, but we got to make sure this never happens to anyone else ever again.
Yeah, well, the way you do that is you win and you clean house. Gone. They're just gone. And I don't know who's in charge of that, but maybe Vivek can come in and clean house. I don't care who it is, but somebody who actually does it. It's happening, Marco, just to be ultra clear. We don't want our country to go down this route. We're already there. We're not in first gear. We're in fourth gear. We have 4 prosecutions happening. One just finished. They launched another one in Arizona with co-conspirator number 1. That's Trump. So there's an orbit of another prosecution and others. And maybe they'll have some bravado after this guilty verdict and try to squeeze another one in. So it's already happening. And it's okay. Well, I'm really glad to have Marco and some of the others now speaking out. It's great. But this could have been nipped a long time ago if they would have started screaming about these illegal prosecutions from the beginning. But all right, that's Marco. Let's see if there was anything else from the president. Jonathan Turley also got a repost over there. We have John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General. He was out explaining some things. Trump posted this. He said, "My civil rights have been totally violated with this highly political, unconstitutional, and election interfering witch hunt. Our failing nation is being laughed at all over the world." Yeah, it's wild that Trump is he's basically got convicted for election interference. It was falsifying business records with the intent to interfere with the election. That's why I think a lot of the jurors are like, we can't let this happen again. He's running again. We can't let him do it again. So we have to hold him accountable for something in 2016 based on object predicate offenses that are misdemeanors. We don't even know what they are. We don't even know what the jury thought or what the actual crime was that they thought was the object offense that he intended to commit. No idea. So they are literally interfering with the 2024 election by prosecuting Trump 4 times in various locations on made-up charges, and then they come after him for election interference. How dare you interfere in 2016, Trump? We're going to prosecute you and interfere with 2024. How do you like it? No one's going to prosecute them. And Trump's actions here were legal. He says, not only did this highly conflicted, biased judge, Judge Mercan, prevent me from presenting the fact that I did not take a tax deduction on the legal expense, which was marked correctly as a legal expense, the judge also did not allow my lawyers to get tax records from the former attorney, whose name I'm not allowed to mention due to the unconstitutional gag order imposed upon me. Election interference, witch hunt. Says the jury instructions given by a highly conflicted judge, Judge Mercan, were unfair, misleading, inaccurate, unconstitutional. They were also very confusing, just what the judge wanted, because there was no crime. Confuseopoly. Just make it very difficult for the juror. I don't know. We heard a lot of evidence. So based on all that evidence, we have to do something with it. And of course, they then convict. So the Biden-Harris campaign came out. They didn't send anybody out outside the courthouse the following day after Robert De Niro came out and sounded like a lunatic. Biden-Harris posted this. They said, in New York today, we saw that no one's above the law. They need a new writer. I mean, they need to come up with a new line. Clearly, Trump is below the law. He doesn't have any due process. He has no discovery rights. He can't present expert witnesses. He gets overruled on very substantive, important motions and objections. The whole thing's nuts. So he has no rights, essentially. He can't even speak about this case. He's gagged in violation of his First Amendment rights. The first. Donald Trump has always mistakenly believed, they say, that he would never face consequences for breaking the law for his own personal gain. But today, after today's verdict, does not change the fact that the American people face a simple reality. Ooh, they're getting some attitude with us here. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, the ballot box. Convicted felon or not, which is kind of waffly language. Trump will be the Republican nominee for president. The threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. He is running an increasingly unhinged campaign of revenge and retribution, as these people are operating a lawfare attack of revenge and retribution. He's prosecuted for a 2017 case. They just got their revenge. We're going to hear from Hillary Clinton, going to do backflips on this. A second Trump term, he says, pledging to be a dictator on day one, which is an out of context joke of a quote, and calling for our Constitution to be terminated. I'm sure he did, so that he can regain and keep power and never leave again. A second Trump term means chaos. As though right now we're living in a nice utopia, ripping away Americans' freedoms and fomenting political violence. And the American people will reject it this November. All right, so that's from Biden-Harris. Just we have full understanding of what's happening there. And now, let's add 10 points to your blood pressure, shall we? Here is Hillary Clinton. This is what it sounded like when she came out at some stupid speech. She came out and listened to these little freakazoids in the crowd just cheering like seals.
Thank you so much. Anything going on today?
Demonic, right? Look at her. So Hillary Clinton was an individual who's committed multiple crimes, actual crimes, criminal charges that were investigated and covered up by the likes of James Comey and the FBI and the DOJ. Multiple crimes. And she's out here mocking Trump. They want him in jail. She's still bitter that she'll never be president. She must feel so bad. I mean, gosh, she had everything. She had the whole country, the whole world. Hillary's going to win. She's going to be coronated. She was so incompetent, she lost. Wow. She must feel like a total loser. And everybody who likes Hillary probably feels just like a total loser. Like, that must have felt good at the moment. But then when they were done clapping like morons, they're like, yeah, Trump's going to be president again. I don't know. And Hillary lost. And remember when she fell over and they had to throw her in the back of the van like a side of beef? Remember that? Wild. All right. Anyways, that's Hillary. And she's married to Bill, who was on Epstein's Island multiple times, engaging in Lord knows what. So we all know that Hillary and Bill are criminal extraordinaire, the family. But she's out mocking Trump. All right. Anyway, she lost the presidency and will never be president. What's up? Okay, so Norm Eisen, one of the individuals who helped orchestrate all of this, in my opinion, with Michael Cohen, just like others created the E. Jean Carroll saga, we have Norm Eisen helping to create the Michael Cohen saga. And he wants jail, baby. Listen to them on CNN.
Yes. That in the most serious FBR cases, sentence of imprisonment is routinely imposed. This is the most serious falsifying business records case in the history of the state of New York.
All right, that's all we can take on that. Okay, 16 seconds, we made it. Oh my gosh, there's another 20 seconds on that? We're not going to do it. Sorry, I thought we could get it through it. No way. I obviously didn't listen to it before we were going to play it, but oh my gosh. No way. No way. All right, so we're done with him, Norm Eisen. I can't believe they put him on TV, that guy. Okay, so he wants Trump in jail. We got it. We got the gist of it from the 16 seconds. But this is what Jen Psaki had to say, and she's not on her usual show. We know the name of the usual show she's on, but she's not on that one today. So she's now on I think she's talking, well, let's see what I don't even know. So here, I think she's telling Democrats, you guys better calm down over there. You're getting a little bit too excited on this thing, and people are not going to like your gloating.
Hey guys, don't go out there and celebrate. This is still going to be an extremely close race, and there's a lot of things that we need to battle over. What I think is happening in strategy meetings with the president right now is a discussion of what he's going to say when asked. And I don't think he's going to say, yeah, I'm running against a convicted felon, right? That's not his style, nor do I think he should say that, because I do think it feeds into the politicization that the other side is accusing him of. I could see him saying something to Trump like, no one is above the law, not even you, at the debate, right? So they see the debate as a big moment, right? Not necessarily to battle over the legal cases, but to battle over a lot of things that have not been litigated out there, because this is blocking a lot of things out. Right. And for them, they don't want the legal cases to be the base of the campaign. They want it to be about abortion rights and other issues.
What? They sent the campaign out there like yesterday, 2 days ago. They have merch on their website. Free on Wednesday t-shirts that they're selling. This is the campaign, Jen. Now, she knows it's a bad idea. This is her trying to backpedal on this to say, yeah, well, no. He cares about the issues that matter to the American people, like, abortion. Do you want to talk about the economy, war? Do you want to talk about inflation? How about the border? Any of those issues, Jen, or just abortion and other things that matter, like insulin costs or something? So the truth of the matter is she would like it to be a campaign about the issues because I think more people care about that, but it's not. Their issues are terrible. They have nothing to talk about, nothing to brag about at all. So it is a campaign about the election, and Jen Psaki is telling them, you guys better calm down. This is all going to backfire. So we also know that this is going to get reversed on appeal. I think what we saw was not justice at all. It was just a show trial, like literally. It was a show trial that sounded like a trial. Sounded like they used some legal language. Oh, like opening statements and closing arguments and objection and hearsay and all the work. Like, wow, it sounds like it's a real thing. It wasn't. So it's going to get reversed on appeal. But at that point, it doesn't matter anymore. Who cares? The election's over. And there will be a small sliver of the American public, just like there's a small sliver of the American public, or maybe not so small, to be honest with you. I've had this conversation. You may have had this too, where you say, no one in America was charged with insurrection. Did you know that? No, I didn't. Trump wasn't charged with insurrection? No, he wasn't. Insurrection is on the books. That's true. No one was charged. What? That's crazy. I thought he was. No, because they just read the headlines. So now they'll hear, well, Trump's a felon. And that just programs into certain people's brains. He's a felon. He's a felon. He's a felon. And now you have to combat, however old that person is, 50 years of brainwashing that being a felon is automatically disqualifying. It's like you're a PDF file or something like that. It's, what, you're a felon? Huh? Yeah, for business records, for Trump. And obviously I could rant about this all day. I'm a defense attorney. This is what we see all the time. That's a crime? What? You got charged for that? Okay. It's ridiculous. But the brainwashing is so rampant that it will move a small sliver, and that's what they're banking on. So it will come back down on appeal. Here is what this analyst from CNN says.
What are the odds of this on appeal for Trump?
Good.
I actually think they're pretty good because there are a number of significant issues of the way this trial was handled. Yeah. And we don't talk about Donald Trump anymore. We talk about the defendant in the case and whether or not the judge did everything the judge was supposed to do to ensure a fair trial, uninfected by the outside world. And I've complained, Aaron, to you, that the idea that this jury wasn't sequestered, not even during their deliberations, not to mention for that week before between trial and closings, I think that's a massive mistake that an appellate court may say, this is going to happen. The defense is going to follow the trail of every one of these jurors when they find out who they are and how they are, where they drove, what they did, every billboard that they saw, all of that. And that's going to be the fodder for appeals that this jury was infected by negativity, that this judge didn't protect their client from. That's just one issue, and there are 100 we can talk about.
Yeah, 100 we could talk about. That's exactly right. There are 100 issues. And that's an interesting point because remember, the judge extended the deliberations, basically let him just kind of hang out for a week, doing Lord knows what. Maybe getting some pressure and seeing some things that maybe they shouldn't have seen before they came back for closing arguments and to deliberate. So, of course, it will get reversed on appeal at some point, but that's not the point. The point is you got to win the battle because the game is the election. It's not about justice in the end or something like that, which might ultimately happen. It's about the election. It's a political attack, not justice. So, Trump's speech is next, and we'll wait for him to come on. Let's check in and see if he is out there.
But my point here is,
let's see if Right Side has anything here. Okay, they got Trump Tower. This is, Dan Goldman. What's he? We missed him. Raskin's out there saying some stuff. Okay, so we're going to wait for Trump to pop up, and then we will tune in on that. So when that one happens, they are testing the mic right now. It looks like they're testing the mic down there. I can see that gentleman down there. All right, so when Trump comes up, we will jump over to that. But in the meantime, let's jump into another segment. And we might have to break this one up. So if Trump comes out, we'll break this segment. We'll jump over to Trump. Then we'll come back. But let's get this one. All right, so we're going to talk about what's happening in Florida, because this was also some good stuff. Jack Smith embarrassed by Judge Cannon. She came out with a very short order because you don't need a long one when it's so thorough and brutal and simplistic. Jack Smith wanted Trump gagged, begged Judge Cannon in one of the most pathetic filings that we've seen here in some time for that gag, saying our agents are going to get killed. We're all going to die. We're all under attack because Trump is saying certain things. And turns out they didn't confer with the defense at all. They dropped this request late on a Friday, holiday weekend. Trump's defense attorneys came out and said, you violated multiple rules and you should be sanctioned for this because your request is so ridiculous and egregious. Judge Cannon largely agreed with them, and we'll see what she says. Now, this is fun because Jack Smith has been on his heels in Florida for quite some time. Judge Cannon unsealing documents that are showing all the malfeasance and misconduct from him. And we've got evidentiary hearings coming up. It's going to be a doozy. But remember, we already covered this one, so I'm not going to belabor this motion too long. But remember, this came from Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa. And we covered this at length in a prior video. So if you missed that, we will link that up here. But here is the 12-pager, just as a reminder on what this said. They were very concerned. They said Trump made false and inflammatory statements about us wanting to eliminate Trump. It's grossly misleading, says Jay Bratt. He falsely suggesting that we wanted to assassinate him. And this is going to hurt our FBI agents. The FBI took extraordinary care. And we did a bunch of planning, and we tried to restrict the force, but Trump said the FBI was authorized to shoot me. Well, because I guess if something would have escalated, they would have had that authorization if it was reasonably necessary to protect the life of the FBI agent or whatever the protocol says. So they say this is causing threats and harassment. And Your Honor, you need to gag Trump. And if you read through the rest of this as we did, it's just whiny. It's good. Are you writing on behalf of actual FBI agents, or are you writing on behalf of like 14-year-old high school girls who are like scared walking to school in the morning? And so they go through. This is Jay Bratt's big whiny email. Please gag Trump. We're all going to die. And you have the right to do that. The court should exercise its authority to impose a condition because we don't want agents to be smeared. And he doesn't have the right to say these things. And so these agents conducted this search in an appropriate and professional manner. And Trump saying that he tried to kill him, they tried to have him killed, has endangered these law enforcement officers. And so he must be restricted. All right. So that's Jay Bratt. Now, Trump's team responded to this. So Jay Bratt filed this. And then there were some emails, or before the filing landed in court, there were some emails back and forth. So Bratt says, hey, your client is now saying some naughty words, Todd Blanche, defense attorney, and we're going to file a motion to restrict him. And so that's what these emails sounded like. We've got the exhibits that came out from Trump's defense attorney. So here's how it went down. You see here, Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, counselor to special counsel, illegal Jack Smith, sent this letter. He sent it over to Todd and Stephen Weiss. He says, Todd, Emil Beauvais, and Chris. He says, in light of former President Trump's recent false statements about the inclusion of the FBI standard use of force policy in the operations plan in the search of Mar-a-Lago and the danger such statements create for the agents who participated in the search, we will be filing a motion to modify conditions of release to prohibit him from making statements that pose a significant, an imminent, and a foreseeable danger to law enforcement agents participating in the investigation and the prosecution of this case. We assume you will oppose this motion and will want an opportunity to discuss and respond. Can you please confirm? We plan to file the motion later this evening. If you would like to discuss further, please let us know. Thank you, Jay. This came out, this email, Friday night before a long holiday weekend. And so Todd Blanche, you can see Friday, May 24th at 5:30 to Todd, Emile Beauvais, and to Chris. 5:30 at night, end of the week. So Todd Blanche, he responds at 5:40 Friday. 10-minute email. He goes, all right, let's get to this. You know, it's easier if you just deal with it. As soon as it comes in, all right, that's fine. Let's go, Jay. All right. He says, Jay, yeah, we very much object to a 5:30 p.m. email on Memorial Day weekend asking our position on a very serious motion that has First Amendment implications and addresses the conditions of release of President Trump. Yeah. A 5:30 p.m. email on a Friday before Memorial Day is not meeting and conferring in any sense of the word at all. And certainly not as we have been ordered to do by local rule and Judge Cannon. As you know, the names of law enforcement officers associated with this investigation and associated with the prosecution of this case have been redacted from all public filings, so no one even knows who they are. So there cannot be a real imminent danger, as you're well aware, if no one knows their names. So Trump can say whatever he wants about them, but no one knows who they are. So there is no danger. The imminent danger standard is not going to be met. And so why are you even here? Moreover, Jay, you have not articulated to us which statements you believe have been made by President Trump that would rise to the level of a, quote, significant, imminent, and foreseeable danger to law enforcement agents participating in the investigation and the prosecution of this case. And as such, because you can't even articulate what that standard is, there is no basis to claim that you have done anything to meet and confer with us, anything meaningful to meet and confer with us prior to filing a motion seeking the relief you articulate below. You're fine. We are available. Sure. We can actually meet and confer on Monday afternoon, which is the holiday. This will give us time to meet with our client and to discuss whatever position we believe to be appropriate. Thank you. Todd. Totally reasonable. And he responds very quickly, 5:40. So Jay Bratt, he says, at 6:43. Jay Bratt, you know, he's a prosecutor, takes a little longer. So he's like, I thought I was done for the night. 5:40, so Jay Bratt takes an hour and 3 minutes. And he squiggles out this paragraph. He says, Todd, the former president issued a statement on True Social on May 21st, 2024, containing the false accusations, and a second one on May 23rd. He included similar statements in a mass fundraising email on May 21st and in a second one on May 23rd. In light of your client's opposition in other cases to any limitation on what he can say based on the same First Amendment implications you mentioned below, we do not believe that further conferral would be productive. In other words, you've already said that we've already seen you in other cases objecting to all the other gag orders, so we don't suspect that you're going to agree to this one. And so we don't think there's any reasonable chance or any productivity in your concurrence in our motion. Like, you're not going to agree with us in any way. You're not going to concur. Now, even were the situation otherwise, waiting until Monday afternoon to speak is unreasonable. As recently as this afternoon, Mr. Trump reposted a statement on True Social again. Jay Bratt is sitting there like, he keeps talking bad about us. Prosecutors hate when you talk bad about them, which is why we like to do that here, because they hate it. They think they work so hard. They got a badge. They're like, I'm a prosecutor. Like, I'm out doing justice. Like, oh, what are you doing? DUIs? Yeah. Okay, great. As recently as this afternoon, Mr. Trump reposted a statement on Truth Social again, making the false accusation and adding new ones. And so further conferral will be a fruitless exercise and does nothing to mitigate the danger your client is creating. So we will include in our motion that you do not believe we provided you an opportunity for meaningful conferral. So we'll just tell the judge and the judge will deal with that. So Todd says, oh, okay, well, he responds, 6:55. Man, Todd is lickety split. Look at this. So Todd Blanche, he's trying to keep it under 10 minutes, but this one is 12 minutes. So he responds in 12 minutes. He drops this whole thing. So it takes Jay Bratt a full hour for this stupid paragraph. Well, I'll tell the judge. If you don't think, I'm not waiting. Someone's going to die if we don't answer this right now. We're going to file it anyways, right? Okay. So then Todd returns and he says 10 minutes later, 12 minutes later, he says, Jay, what? He says, you still have not informed us of what statements you claim pose a significant, imminent, and foreseeable danger. You have now informed us when the statements have been made and in what forum, but you were seeking to modify bail conditions, and in doing so, you have not in any way, shape, or form informed us of what statements he has made that you believe warrant this relief. So our position is not that you have not provided an opportunity for meaningful conferral. Our position is that you have completely failed to meet and confer. You're filing something. It's not that you didn't give us you're not doing it. So as you know, the local rule requires you to do more than just inform us that something was said and that based on that statement and prior positions of our client, you assume we would oppose. So if you're going to file your little motion there, Jay, why don't you include this following position from us in your motion? At 5:30 p.m. on Friday evening, you can include this. Jay, the special counsel informed us that they were seeking to modify President Trump's bail conditions on as yet unidentified statements purportedly made by President Trump on Truth Social and in fundraising emails. They indicated that they were filing the motion tonight without informing us of the statements that they claim give rise to the relief sought and without allowing defense counsel to respond as required under the local rules. Defense counsel has had no opportunity to confer with the special counsel's office, nor have we had an opportunity to confer with our client about the requested relief. Defense counsel indicated it's available over a holiday weekend on Monday, a holiday. The special counsel refused this good faith effort. This is a blatant violation of the Florida local rules and the prior orders of this court, Judge Cannon. And so we oppose this motion being filed in this format and ask that it be summarily dismissed because of a lack of effort to meaningfully meet and confer. So, Jay, if you're going to write your little stupid motion, include that paragraph in there. Okay, thanks. Now, in the past, you have refused to put our stated position in your motion. We asked that you include this position in full. Guess what happened? Jay Bratt didn't do that. So Jay Bratt responds, he says, Todd, 7:45. So he takes about another hour. Todd, in light of the coverage, your client's truths and campaign emails making false claims about the FBI's standard use of force protocols, I find it hard to believe, Todd, that you are unable to discern the statements contained within those communications that create the danger we previously referenced. He's like, what, can you read, Todd? Do you even know how to read? Nevertheless, I'm attaching those communications to this email with the relevant language highlighted in yellow. So he printed out the Truth Social. Todd's just laughing. He's like, I know, obviously I know what he's talking about. Clearly, I don't care. Yeah, okay, thanks for printing it out. We decline to put verbatim in our pleading the statement of your position that you set below. The portion of the motion describing the conferral process is not a platform for you to make arguments, Todd. We will fairly summarize your position as we've done so in the past. So Jay sends that one in. And so Todd responds, 7:53. 7:45 to 7:53. This is so irritating when you do this. It's so irritating. And defense attorneys can be great at this. The other person we saw do this was Ashley Merchant, just brutal. As soon as you say, fire it right back out. It's called war. This is a good concept in life in general. We're always ready. War, no matter what we're always ready. Send it, boom, fire it right back. 9 minutes. He says, Jay, yeah, do what you will. Because then you know that Jay Bratt is sitting there just like for hours. His whole life is like consumed by this. Todd Blanche fires back an email, probably on his phone, and then goes back to playing video games. And then goes back, he's boom. Next level, right? Whatever. Doesn't even care. And it's frustrating as hell if you're on the receiving end of this. Jay, do what you will. This is a blatant violation of the local rules and Judge Cannon's previous admonishments of the special counsel's conduct in complying with the rules of the court. This has not stopped the special counsel before, and it appears it will not stop you tonight. We will respond in due course. It is troubling that a representative of the United States has no issues violating the rules of the court when it so suits, but here we are. I am curious, when the drafting of this motion started, and why the special counsel waited until 5:30 p.m. to comply with the rules of the court by requiring a meaningful meet and confer. How come? At this point, it's no longer surprising that the rules are not followed, even by representatives of the United States in theory sworn to uphold those very rules. Jay Bratt is freaking fuming right now. I assume by your response below that you will choose how you will represent our position as opposed to representing our position as articulated by us below. I am actually speechless at this point. I don't have a response beyond what I have written below. Todd. Brutal. And so he says, Jay, you didn't even inform the court that you wrote us at 5:30 p.m. tonight regarding a meet and confer. So then the motion gets filed. All right. So Jay then just files it because he's just fuming. He probably files it another hour later. Hang on a second. Let's see. We're waiting to see if Trump is coming out. Not yet. Not yet. We got some time. Okay. So then it gets filed. So 7:53 happens. Jay, do whatever you want. Jay turns around, files the motion. It drops on the Friday night. We hear about it. Then he responds right after it's filed. He reads it and he says at 8:09, Jay, he's thinking, I just read your motion. You didn't even inform the court that you wrote us at 5:30 tonight about a meet and confer. Do you want to correct that before we respond? Or no? Please let us know. So you didn't even tell the judge. And now there's a response from David. David must be another prosecutor. Jay Bratt's probably agitated right now, having a meltdown. So they say, Todd, dear Todd, as we attempted to explain before, our reasoned expectation was that, like many other motions that have been filed in this case by both sides, there was no likelihood of further conferral resulting in an agreement or even narrowing the issues before the court. So they just decided we don't have to meet with you, even though the judge said you do. Your side has solicited our position shortly before filing other motions where the expectation was correctly the same. Also, so in other words, you've done this before. Also, as we are also tried to explain earlier, our judgment was that the situation your client has created necessitated a prompt request for relief that could not wait the weekend to file. We understand your position and represented to the court that you do not believe the government has engaged in an adequate conferral here. I write here tonight to hopefully explain our reasons for doing so. Signed, David. And so Todd says, okay, well, David, thanks for all of that. Little note. 9:33 p.m. Man, he's keeping it under 10 minutes, man. This is good, Todd. Less than 10 minutes. 9:33 same night. David, they're rules. You guys violated them. I appreciate the attempted explanation, but it does not in any way pacify us. I am beyond amazed that the government would misrepresent facts to the court about what happened. You didn't even bother to inform the court that you reached out to us for a meet and confer at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday night of Memorial Day weekend before the filing of the motion at 8 p.m. You gave us like 2 hours to talk about our release conditions and our free speech with our client. I'm confused as to why you think we could not meaningfully meet and confer about a path forward short of a motion. You did not even bother to inform us of the post and fundraising emails that gave you concern until 20 minutes before you filed the motion. We would have been more than willing to discuss with you your concerns prior to filing the motions, but you had an agenda and you stuck to that agenda. It is not surprising, but still disappointing. The court may agree with you that the path you chose was the right one. I do not know. But please do not try to justify a blatant violation of the rules and beyond the local rules. Judge Cannon admonition to all of us last summer. You all made a decision tonight to file this motion without complying with these local rules and Judge Cannon, and that is your decision. We will respond accordingly. Signed, Todd Blanche. And so those are the exhibits in the filing. And next, we'll turn our attention to the Trump team and their response before we get to Judge Cannon's ruling. But let's pause for a minute, my friends, because we are getting ready for Trump to come in and speak in T-minus 4 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. And there's the tower. Let's turn this live, see what right side has for us. And then we've also got another camera angle coming up here soon. Is this frozen from them? Is that like actually frozen? Okay, there it is. Yeah, I think it was. All right, so we're waiting for Trump to speak. He's expected to come out in about 3 minutes from now. And when he does, we will tune in on it and see what he has to say. But in the meantime, my friends, let's hang out. Let's say hello. Let's see what you say about all this. Who is in the house? Very nice to see you, my friends. And I'm also keeping our eye on Fox News to see what they've got. All right. So we'll pause. And my friends, thank you for sending in these amazing donos. Very grateful to have all these. We're waiting for the president to come on out. Rosie Posey says, hey, Robert, my 90-year-old mama, Josephine. Shout out to Josephine, 90. Woo! Josephine, a.k.a. Peppy. Oh, man, she sounds awesome. Shout out to Peppy Josephine. Really enjoys watching your show. She knows your 6-smack hand drum when you start your show. Thank you for all you do. Shout out to Peppy. Shout out to Peppy. Good to see you, Rosie. Thanks for saying that. Shout out to the Peppy household. What's going on? All right. Let's see what else is cooking. We got some other comments in the house. Tasadaka. We had that one yesterday, which was awesome. So Tasadaka, and we have ELZ in the house. Says, rest easy and be assured we'll get through this mess. We'll see you all tomorrow. And that was in from yesterday, which is awesome. And so shout out to Peppy and for those comments. We had some new people come in and join us on the house. Welcome aboard to Melanie L. Became a new YouTube member. Thank you, Melanie, for joining us. Welcome aboard. Great to have you. We got Q Reinhardt became a new member. So we got two new, we got a bunch of new members, man. Check this out. We got David Webb also became a member. Welcome aboard, David Webb. We have Rick D's in the house, also became a YouTube member. Nice to have you. Daxinth P has been a member for 16 months. My goodness, that's almost 2 full babies in the house. What's up, Daxinth? Says, love seeing the early streams. Good morning. It's great to be here. Yeah, we have, so I've got an event today, so that's why we're here a little bit early. So we will, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to be a little bit late to the event, but it's all good because we got a historic press briefing here today. So we had to be here to do it. But it is fun to get going a little bit early, see some new faces that we might not normally see at the late shows. We got 1 minute until Trump is supposedly about to come out. We'll see if we're on time or not. What's up? Shri is here. Shri brought in 5 new membos. Shri, thank you for doing that. Let's see. We had 5 new membos coming in from Shri. You know who you are. Grateful to have the 5 new membos. We got Sheila Pease in the house. Says, can a petition to SCOTUS to bypass the New York Appeals Court be made, since this decision and jury instructions violate a decision already made by SCOTUS requiring unanimity for all aspects of the verdict? Yeah, I think that they could. I think, the answer on a question like this, which is a great question, is you always can, I think, make your petition to SCOTUS, but they are unlikely, I think, to accept stuff until it has gone through the regular process. So the example that I'm thinking of is kind of the reason I just stalled there, was literally what happened with the J6 case. All right, we got some camera movement here. The J6 case, Jack Smith tried to leapfrog the Court of Appeals, and SCOTUS just said, no, go back down, basically. So I think Trump could always make the petition, but I don't know that they would accept it. I think that they would prefer that it go through the regular method. And we've seen that before on this, in the cases we've covered here. But great question, Sheila. Hey, what's up? Riley S. sending in a very nice super sticker. Thank you, Riley, for sending that one in, for sending the beautiful dono in. We got, hey, dear Emily says, why doesn't Trump appeal the gag order? Love you too, Rob. Heart to you, Rob. Heart back to you, dear Emily. Thank you for that. So he has submitted several appeals, but they all got rejected summarily. And what normally happens in criminal cases is the appeals happen at the end. So the big appeals happen at the end of the case. So courts of appeals will just appeal it at the end. What Trump was doing with the gag order, he was saying that this had collateral consequences. This was going outside the trial, and it was creating irreparable harm, of course, in the campaign, because he can't speak about this. And the Court of Appeals there in New York just said, no, we're not going to accept that. Good Logic has been working on an appeal to undo the gag. Trump's team filed, I want to say, like 6 or 7 different versions of appeals to try to stop the trial from even starting at the very beginning. But of course, the Court of Appeals denied all of those. Great question, dear Emily. Good to see you. Emax Tactical says, Trump exposed a festering cancer disease within this country that we've always known existed, but willfully ignored. We as conservatives value morality and absolute truth and can no longer sit idly by and hope justice prevails. I agree with that. I think for a long time, Republicans or conservatives or people on the right have just defaulted to the protection of the system. Oh, the system's just really strong. The system's great. We have a great constitution, and we have good judges that will honor that, and there's tradition here and precedent and all those things. That's all gone. There is no precedent, doesn't matter anymore. We had 234 years of precedent that did matter, all thrown out the window immediately, because now it's just a political blood sport. That's all they care about, taking out their political opponents. So good to see you, EMAC. I think that is exactly right. It's if you're going to get engaged, now's the time. Whatever that looks like for you, personally, individually. Start a YouTube channel, start speaking with your friends, start a hiking club, start writing about it, start a Substack, whatever it is. Or just make sure you're creating some energy amongst your friend group on election day. So you're dragging 5 people to the polls with you. It's something that, has to be done now. We can't just rely on other people to help solve this problem. What's up? Carla D's in the house. Good to see you, Carla D. Thanks for becoming a beautiful membo. Nice to have you in the house. We got this one. Count Drago says, subscribed 2 years ago. Wow. Thank you for honest court reporting. Thanks for that, Count Drago, for being here for 2 full years. It's been a lot. We've had a lot of action here over the last 2 years. That would put you 2022, midterms maybe. Good to see you there. Thank you for that, Count Drago. We got this one from Don't Matter. Gifted a membo. Don't Matter brought in 1 new membo. Great to have a new membo. Welcome aboard. You know who you are. The buff IT guy. Yes. Solving technical problems and throwing iron around at the same time. $34.8 million at donations on haul for stamp after the verdict. That's insane. That's a lot of money. On pace for that? Wow. Well, there were several people we talked about yesterday who were also donating 300 grand, and a lot of money was flooding in. That's very, very good news. Rick D's in the house. What's up, Rick D? 5 membos gifted, courtesy of Rick D. Great to have you, Rick D. Thanks for gifting some new membos. Very nice of you to do that. We got MPKs in the house. Says, for the 4th brother, family joke, thanks for the coverage. This one's for the 4th brother. You know who you are in the MPK household. This one's for you, the 4th brother. Good to see you. Thanks for that, MPK. Thanks for the coverage, and shout out to the household at the MPK house. What's up, Stan K? Joining us. What's up, Stan? No comment on that one. Just a nice dono. Appreciate you that one, Stan. This one came in from Rick D. Says, I was already a member, LOL. For some reason, YouTube canceled it. YouTube! So I had to rejoin. I've heard that. I don't know why that might be. Could it be a potential card change or something, an expiration date or something like that? Who knows? All right, so we're waiting for the president to come in. You see the crowds out there. Here comes some noise. It sounds like we got some activity. Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody. This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. And these are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they're coming in from jails and prisons, and they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it, because they could right now, today, he could stop it. But he's not. They're destroying our country. Our country is in very bad shape. And they're very much against me saying these things. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars with their ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car. But make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people.
That's right.
Maybe his people, more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as
we are, Mr. President.
As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let him.
All right, they just lost their audio and they switched to that scene.
It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense. I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected. She testified. Marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense.
What else would they call it?
Paid a lawyer is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that. This is what the falsification of business records were. And I said, what else are you going to call it?
Great question.
What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury.
And then they can ask.
But I didn't care about that. I wanted to.
About everything.
But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in. Not this case. Everything that I was ever involved in.
That's right.
Which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is, legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed, that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in this city, and I could find things that in theory, I guess, let's indict him, let's destroy his life. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there, because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. And the people understand it, because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out. It was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and it says something differently. But a lot of people have predicted it, because the public understands, and they understand what's going on. This is a scam. There's a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge. He should have allowed us to have an election expert. We had the best expert, most respected expert, head of the Federal Elections Commission. He was all set to testify. He was waiting for 2 days. And when it was his turn, Bragg's people protested. And the judge knocked him out, said you can't testify. He actually said you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal elections is. Well, that doesn't help. Everybody knows that. But you can't testify. So essentially, he wasn't able to testify. Other people weren't able to testify. But with these people, they were able to use people salacious. By the way, and nothing ever happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened, and they know it. But they were as salacious as they could be, and it had nothing to do with the case. But it had to do with politics. And do you notice the timing? The timing was perfect. This case was dead. It was dropped by every agency, every governmental board. It was dropped by the highly respected Southern District. They said, no, there's no case here. It was dropped by federal election, and that's what it's about. This is about a federal election, not a state election. You're not even allowed to look at it. They took the state and the city, and they went into a federal election. They're not allowed. The people from federal election, Southern District, and Washington dropped the case. Everybody dropped the case. There was no case. Cy Vance dropped the case. And when Bragg came in, he said, this is the most ridiculous case I've ever seen. And who would have a certain person, again, gag order, who would have a certain person like this ever testify? He said, this is essentially one of the worst people I've ever seen ever to testify. He said, the craziest case I've ever seen. This is Bragg. Then when they announced I was running for president, a long time later, they decided to revive this case. And they got a judge, Judge Marchand, who was responsible for another case that was also brought. It destroyed the life of a very good man, by the way. Destroyed the life of a very good man who went to prison once, and then they just put him in prison again because they said he lied. He didn't lie. I looked at the statements he made. In fact, he didn't remember something, and they put him in jail. Again, they've destroyed him. With me for many years, he was an honorable person. He was an honest man. And if you look at what he did, supposedly, it never happened. There's never been anything like this. Over the education of his grandchildren. Over, he didn't report that he had a car or 2 cars on his income. I don't know. I wonder how many people here have cars. I wonder how many people said, oh, gee, I have a car that's worth X dollars. How do you even figure it? And I guess you do have to report it, but I would say probably almost nobody does. Nobody even thinks about it. They put this man, they destroyed this man, but they put him in jail again because they didn't want him to testify. They didn't want him to testify. That's why he went to jail. They put him in jail twice. He's 77 years old. Now, normally I'd say that's an old guy, but I don't feel 77. Nobody ever says that about me. I'd like them to say, gee, we have to have a little sorrow for this man, because they just don't say that about me, but maybe I'm better off that way. I think I'm probably better off that way. But they put him in jail twice. And you have to see what they put him in jail. And he was threatened by the judge. This man was told, you're going to get 15 years in jail if you don't give up Trump. And he was told that.
That's how they flip people.
You're going to get 15 years in jail. And he made a plea deal because he didn't want to spend the rest of his life. And he was told that viciously.
Yeah.
We're
Just
living in a fascist state. He was told that viciously.
Exactly what they did to Cohen.
So you can go to jail for 4 months, 5 months, or you can get 15 years in jail. So do a plea. Almost who wouldn't do that plea? Everyone does those pleas. It's a horrible thing.
Hard not to.
There's a whole group of lawyers that fight that. It's so unfair. It's so unfair. But they destroyed his life. So many other things. You look at Southern District didn't want to bring the case. Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then you know who didn't want to bring the case most of all is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it. But then he brought it, and they tried to make it a different case. They didn't say legal expense equal legal expense. Again, if I wrote down and paid a lawyer, and by the way, this was a highly qualified lawyer. Now, I'm not allowed to use his name because of the gag order. But, you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that. Took me a while to find out. But he was effective. He did work. But he wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. You know, they like to use the word fixer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. At the time, he was a fully accredited lawyer. Now, he got into trouble not because of me. He got into trouble because he made outside deals, and he had something to do with taxi cabs and medallions, and he borrowed money. And that's why he went. And then he pled to three election violations. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I wonder why he did that. He pled. He took a deal. Now, he took a deal because he wanted to get off. In other words, I'll take a plea deal and I want to get off. And he wanted to make a deal with the Southern District. And they wrote the worst report I think I've ever seen on any human being, other than the report that was written on James Comey by the Inspector General, a very great Inspector General, actually. Wrote a report that was so bad. This one was possibly worse. The Southern District, the judge didn't let us use it. He said, it's hearsay. I said, it's not hearsay. Wouldn't let us use it. This is about the man. But he got in trouble for a very simple reason, because he was involved with borrowing a lot of money, and he did something with the banks. I don't know if it's defrauded the banks, but something happened. You guys know what it is. And then in addition to that, he gave up on three things where he wasn't guilty. In fact, they were going to testify in that. The head of the FEC, the Brad Smith, the election expert, #1 rated in the country, was going to testify. He took a plea on three things. He just added them in because that gave him more bargaining power with respect to me. But the three things that he pled on, having to do with the election and having to do essentially a little bit with me, they weren't crimes. They weren't crimes. Nor is paying money under an NDA. So we have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. It's a big deal, a non-disclosure agreement. Totally honorable, totally good, totally accepted. Everybody has them. Every company has non-disclosure agreements. But the press called it slush fund and all sorts of other things. Hush money, hush money. It's not hush money. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. And most of the people in this room have a non-disclosure agreement with their company. It's a disgrace. So it's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, totally legal, totally common. Everyone has it. And what happened is he signed a non-disclosure agreement with this person, I guess other people, but it's totally honest. You're allowed to make the payment. You don't have to make it. You can make it any way you want. It's a non-disclosure agreement. And he signed that. And there was nothing wrong with signing it. And this should have been a non-case. And everybody said it was a non-case, including Bragg. Bragg said, until I ran for office. And then they saw the polls. I was leading the Republicans. I was leading the Democrats. I was leading everybody. And all of a sudden, they brought it back. It's a very sad thing that's happening in our country. That's true. It's a thing that I'm honored. In a way, I'm honored. It's not that it's pleasant. It's very bad for family. It's very bad for friends and businesses. But I'm honored to be involved in it because somebody has to do it. And I might as well keep going and be the one. But I'm very honored to be involved because we're fighting for our Constitution. The money that was paid legally. There was nothing illegal. In fact, the lawyer in creating the NDA, because at that time he was a fully accredited lawyer. He wasn't a fixer. I never thought of him as a fixer. The media called him a fixer, or the prosecutors called him a fixer. He was a lawyer. And he was fairly good. Later on, I didn't like what he did. I didn't like, for instance, I didn't like that when I became president, he went around and made deals with companies. When I heard that, he was gone. He was gone. And he had payments coming to him, And a lot of this involved things that are very simple. There was nothing wrong. This was standard stuff. All
so he's talking about Michael
standard
Cohen
stuff.
right now.
Everything involved was standard. There was no crime
off
here.
Limits.
In fact, I just watched a couple of the reports. You watched Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Greg Jarrett. You look at all of these people, Mark Levin, all very talented people, great people, many more. And they don't know me, essentially. They don't know me. They're legal scholars and experts. But I look at them. I watched Turley this morning saying, there's no crime here. Everybody says there's no crime here, except for this DA that's got the city out of control with crime. It's absolutely out of control. So we have an NDA that was signed. We have legal expenses. And here's the thing on legal expenses. You have 100 where they say they do a charge. I just recorded this out. Falsification of business records in the first degree. It sounds so bad. I said, wow. And even my own lawyers, I get very upset with them because they don't say what it is. They say, well, falsification of legal records is only a felony. Well, that's a lot. Is only they say a misdemeanor. But they try and bring it up to a felony if there's 2 crimes. They have all these different things. The other thing is they missed the statute of limitations by a lot. Because this was very old. They could have brought this 7 years ago instead of bringing it right in the middle of the election. So they missed the statute of limitations. They did everything. Now, let me give you the good news. The good news is last night, we just got a report this morning, in the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38, a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period.
Wow.
No, think of that.
Wow.
I like those people.
$39 million in 10 hours? Biden's having a heart attack right now.
I guess it's backfiring. Now, I don't know. I'd rather not have it happen. I don't want to have it backfiring. I don't want to win this thing legitimately, not because they were stupid did things that they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't have brought this case. They were saying it this morning. This is a case that should not have been brought. I watched Andy McCarthy say this is a case that should not have been brought. And that was this morning. But they all say that. Every legal scholar has said it. And these are great people. They really understand the law. The other thing, a poll just came out. The first poll, I don't know, maybe others will be bad. But a poll just came out a little while ago. The Daily Mail. Does anybody read the Daily Mail? It's very good. They have a good poll. At least I like it today. And the Daily Mail just came out with a poll. And it has Trump up 6 points in the last 12 hours. 6 points. 6 points since this happened. Who thought this could happen? Because the people of our country know it's a hoax. They know it's a hoax. They get it. You know, they're really smart, and it's really something. So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant. And you got to see that with Bob Costello, a fine man. I've never seen anything like it, and neither has anybody that was in that courthouse where he demanded that the courthouse be cleared. Now, the good news is most of the people in the courthouse were the media. And anybody that was in the media, if you're fair, you'll say, wow, that was anger. That was crazed. He was crazed. And the reason that Bob Costello acted a little bit upset, which I think he has a right to, was that every question he was being asked was being objected to by the other side and sustained by the judge. Sustained. I think he did it many times. I don't know what the number, many times. Even I was sitting there saying, and these were basic questions. And I never saw anybody treated that way by a judge. And I've been treated very badly by 2 other judges also, because it's all the same thing. And it all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. He's the worst president in the history of our country. The most incompetent. He's the dumbest president we've ever had. He's the dumbest president, most incompetent president, and he's the most dishonest president we've ever had. And so many of he's a Manchurian candidate. You take a look at the way he treats China, Russia, so many others. You know, I ended the Russian pipeline. It was dead. He comes in and he approves it. And he gets $3.5 million, meaning $3.5 million is paid to the family, his family, from the mayor of Moscow's wife. And I said, where did that come from? Nobody wants to talk about it. But he's a very big danger to our country. And the only way they think they can win this election is by doing exactly what they're doing right now, win it in the courts because they can't win it at the ballot box. So we're going to show them that we're going to fight. It's actually, I don't know, it's something where I'm wired in such a way that a lot of people would have gone away a long time ago. They would have gone away after impeachment hoax #1. That was a total hoax. I had great support from the Republican Party, though. Then you had impeachment hoax #2. And then they formed the committee. How about they formed the committee of thugs, the J6 committee of thugs. And they took their records and they destroyed all of the records after the committee was abandoned because those records were great for us. Now, can you imagine if Republicans did that? Everybody would have been in jail by now. Think of it, the unselect, I call it the unselect, they call it select committee, I call it the unselect committee of thugs. They meet, it's 100% Democrat and 2 past Republicans that are no longer Republicans, that are no longer in business anymore, thank you. But it was all Democrats and 2 wayward Republicans. Liz Cheney and crying Adam Kinzinger. He cries every time he goes on television. He's the most emotional human being I think I've ever seen. And that was our representatives. These 2 people were our rep. So they had all this stuff that they're leaking. And then when it came time to look at the records, like where the police said and the Capitol Guard said that I supplied, think of it, that I recommended as many soldiers or National Guard as you want. 10,000. If you had 500, you wouldn't have had a problem. There wouldn't have been a J6. But Nancy Pelosi and the group didn't want it. Anyway, so they have testimony to all of that, that I did not attack the Secret Service agent in the front of a car. You know, these are strong people. And I supposedly went to the driver, and I grabbed him around the neck. And he rebuffed me. And then I went to the other guy, who I think is a black belt in karate. And he's slightly younger than me. Maybe 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. And I grabbed him around the neck and said, he's a black belt in karate. They know how to get somebody from around their neck.
Take me to the Capitol.
They would have gone like this, and that would be the end of that.
Clavicle girl, Cassidy Hutchinson.
Actually, I had a friend that said, you shouldn't dispute that. That makes you look like the toughest cookie we've ever seen. You should have let that go on.
Take it over.
But the fact is, it never happened. It was all made up. And that was proven to be made up. It proved to be a false story. And they deleted and destroyed all of that information, every ounce of it. We're dealing with a corrupt government. We have a corrupt country. Our elections are corrupt. Our borders are open. Our borders are going to be closed very soon. November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Now, when I say that, because my people are always saying, do this, because we're fighting for America, DonaldJTrump.com. I hope everybody watching right now, DonaldJTrump.com, because it really makes a difference. They have a lot of money on the other side. I don't know where they get it. Nobody knows where they get it.
Billionaires, Zuckerberg, Soros.
But they're not on the side of our country. In many ways, I think they hate our country. Who on earth can want open borders where people are allowed to pour in from countries unknown, from places unknown, from languages that we haven't even heard of. We have people sitting in schools with languages where very few people have ever even heard of these languages. It's not like Spanish or French or Russian. Languages unknown. We have people coming from corners of the globe, and many of them are not good people. Many terrorists, record levels of terrorism, record levels of terrorists have come into our country. Record. They've never seen anything like it. You know, there was a report that in 2019, I don't believe this, by the way, the media gave it, and it was good for me, believe it or not. They said in 2019, there were no terrorists recorded that came into our country. I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible. But 2019 was a Trump year. I don't believe that could be possible. But they said no terrorists came into our country. So let's say it was close. Let's say it was close. But now record levels of terrorists, record levels, the highest level we've ever seen of terrorists are pouring into our country. You have China with just in the last few months, 29,000 people came in, and I looked at them on a line, and they look like perfect soldiers. They're almost all male, from 19 to 25. It looks like a recruiting exercise. They have beautiful tents. They have propane stoves. They have cell phones, the best you can buy. I said, what's going on? It looks like they're building an army right in our country. Now, I don't think that would happen, right? We're losing our country. And I really think that this is an event, what took place yesterday with this judge. Look, we have conflicted, but he's a crooked judge, and you'll understand that. And I say that knowing that it's very dangerous for me to say that, and I don't mind, because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution. I don't mind. So thank you. So we will continue the fight. We're going to make America great again. Very simple. When people fight MAGA, they say, we're going to fight. I watch Biden. We're going to fight MAGA. We're going to stop MAGA. It's make America great again. That's all it is. MAGA. Make America great again. Our country's in serious trouble. We owe $36 trillion. We were energy independent for the first time ever, and now we're begging Venezuela for oil. One statistic you have to hear. Venezuela was crime-ridden. Caracas, the cities, crime-ridden. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They just reported a 72% drop in crime in the last year because all of their criminals, most of them, and the rest are coming in now, the ones that didn't come in. In Venezuela, their prisons have been emptied into the United States. Their criminals and drug dealers have been taken out of the cities and brought into the United States. And that's true with many other countries. The Congo has just released a lot of people from jail. Congo, Africa, just released a lot of people from their prisons and jails and brought them into the United States of America. This is what's happening to our country. And it's not sustainable by anyone. Little things like our kids can't have a Little League game anymore because you have tents and you have migrants living on the fields. That's the least of it. People are taking over our luxury hotels, migrants, and yet our veterans, our great veterans, are living on the streets like dogs. They're living on the streets. But migrants are living in luxury hotels in cities all over our country run by Democrats. So,
leaf blower guys here.
It's my honor to be doing this. It really is. It's a very unpleasant thing, to be honest. But it's a great honor. We're gonna do what I have to do. I'm going to do it, and the support has been. That's why I mentioned the number of $39 million. That's why I mentioned we're up 6 points, and we went up a lot over the last month because everybody saw it was a rigged deal. It was a rigged trial. But we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it better than ever before. November 5th. Remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, my friends. So looks like that is it for the press conference. No questions. And
President
Trump is now off. That took place at Trump Tower. And he spoke for about, what was that? About 30 minutes or so, give or take. Very interesting speech. He made a big announcement today. My goodness. $39 million in 10 hours is a lot of donos. That's a lot of super chats that came in. And so very good news for the president. A couple other quick points on this. We're a little worried about that gag order. So as he was speaking, and some people were commenting on this, we're hearing him talk about Michael Cohen. We heard him talk about Robert Costello. Question is, was that a violation of the gag order? So as he was speaking, I pulled up the revised gag order. This is the new one that came out. He entered this one on April 1st. This was the one, oh, sorry. This is the one that came out on April 1st. And you can see this is the second amended gag order. And here are the specifics of it. So this is still in effect. Okay, Trump came out yesterday, or actually this morning, and came out and confirmed this is still in effect. He said, I can't talk about this stuff. And then he proceeded to kind of talk about it. So here is what it says. I don't know that he's in automatic hot water. So let's look. Here is what he is directed to refrain from doing. Making or directing others to make public statements. Making or directing others to make public statements. So he came out today, and we have not read the transcripts from yesterday's proceedings. So I don't know if there was some lifting of the gag or anything like that happened. We were just going off of what was being reported. So if there is something in the transcripts about some modifications of this, we're commenting on it without that knowledge. But as it stands, as far as we know, this is still in effect, at least through sentencing, and then he'll probably be on probation pending appeal. So here is what this looks like is still in effect. Making or directing others to make public statements. Now, Trump actually did that today, right? He came out and said, I can't talk about it, but you can. So the government might come out and say that was directing other people to make a statement. But it's about known or reasonably foreseeable witnesses. So that's over. So we don't really need to worry about reasonably foreseeable because we don't have any more witnesses. So how about make public statements about known witnesses concerning their potential participation in the investigation, which is now done, or in this criminal proceeding. So could a government prosecutor read it as either making a statement about a known witness concerning their participation in this criminal proceeding, which is not over? Robert Costello, Michael Cohen, maybe Michael Cohen will have, for example, a sentencing letter. Maybe something might impact what he says at sentencing or does at sentencing. And so he's still technically involved in the criminal proceeding until Trump is sentenced. Maybe the pretrial services who does their sentencing review, a sentencing report, pre-sentencing report. Maybe they want to talk to Cohen. Maybe they have other things they want to do. So could a government prosecutor say Trump made a statement about Cohen in the middle of this criminal proceeding? Yeah, of course they could. I think probably are typing it up right now. Making or directing others to make public statements about lawyers in the case other than the DA. Members of the court staff. I don't think we heard that today. Family members of counsel, staff members of the court, DA, if they're made to interfere. And then this one, of course, is done, right? So subsection C is over because making or directing others to make public statements about any prospective juror. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. I think actually this is probably still in play. But he didn't really comment on the jurors today. Making or directing others to make public statements about any prospective juror. So they're no longer prospective. They were the jurors. Or any juror in this criminal proceeding, which is not over yet. Not until the sentence is over. So I'm sure the judge is was listening to that, and I'm sure Alvin Bragg is probably preparing a motion, and the judge still has time to sentence Trump, and they might move just like we've seen in other filings here for a modification of release conditions or to accelerate sentencing or for another contempt proceeding. So interesting thing that we just saw there today. So Trump came out and he spoke on this, and we know his chances on appeal are good, but his address to America explained a recap of everything that he witnessed. He talked about the judge, about how he's biased. He talked about some other witnesses, and very clearly Michael Cohen and Robert Costello. And what we didn't hear much of was whether there were any policy changes. So is Trump going to do anything in the new administration, or is the campaign going to be focused on anything? It was more of a recap, talking about some other policy issues that he's interested in, like the border and why Joe Biden is incompetent and the usual campaign fare. But big news, $39 million in 10 hours. That's why the website went down. A lot of people interested in supporting him now that may have been on the sidelines previously. They're no longer staying seated. And of course, we are going to be here as we continue our coverage of this case. Trump announcing he is going to appeal. That's going to be great news. And so if you enjoyed this video, be sure you check out our next segment, because we're talking about what's happening in Florida, and that's just as important now that this trial's over. That's where a big part of our attention is going next. All right, so that was the announcement from Trump, and now we can turn our attention back to Florida. So just to recap and to sort of segue this thing with not such a hard stop, but Trump, we got some updates from him. Now we know that in Florida, we had just finished reading the emails, the exhibits back and forth. And so as a recap, remember that Todd Blanche responded to the government and just says, okay, well, you're deciding to file this motion without complying with the rules. That's your decision. So then Todd Blanche and the defense responded. And so let's see what they said. Back over to Special Counsel Jack Smith and the Florida Oompa Loompa, Jay Bratt. Here is what the defense said. All right, Jay. And dear Judge Cannon, this is Trump's motion to strike and to request sanctions based on what they submitted. They say, well, Jack Smith is here. They're seeking to impose an unconstitutional gag on Trump based on some vague and unsupported assertions about some law enforcement personnel, FBI agents, whose names have been redacted from public filings. And for the reasons set forth below, well, Jack Smith's office is violating the rules. And so the court should strike the motion entirely, make civil contempt findings as to all government attorneys who even participated in the decision to file this, and impose sanctions on them after holding evidentiary hearings about the decision to willfully disregard your prior procedures. Not happy. Saying following a string of procedural abuses, Judge Cannon, and misrepresentations, Jack Smith, over the course of many months, this court has admonished them. The court admonished Jack's office to just calm down. Just calm down. You guys are like lunatics. Far from it, Jack Smith's office contacted defense counsel about filing a motion at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday evening before Memorial Day, as Trump and his counsel prepared to deliver the defense summation in People versus Trump on the morning of Tuesday, May 28th. That's the New York case. We responded immediately, on average less than 10 minutes. Todd Blanche, got a stopwatch. But Jack's office declined our request. We said we'd meet him on Monday on a holiday. All we wanted to do was meet with Trump. But Jack's office did not specifically identify any of the evidence they cited until about 15 minutes before they filed the motion. And as with prior filings by Jack's office, the motion fails to identify any direct evidence of the purported safety risks. Just Trump is dangerous. Jack's office did not even dare seek emergency relief in the filing, as no relief is warranted. Thus, there was no basis for rushing to file it. They didn't mark it emergency. This is bad faith behavior. It's plain and simple. Saying, Your Honor, the misconduct by Jack's office is even more worthy of sanctions in light of the context here. The motion is extraordinary. It's unprecedented, and it's unconstitutional censorship. The motion unjustly targets President Trump's campaign speech while he's the leading candidate. It also treads new, on extremely problematic ground because they're asking for a prior restraint that's different from the other gag orders. Here, they seek as a condition and condition Trump's liberty on his conformance with Jack Smith and what Jack Smith thinks about the case. And they want the probation office to mediate the disputes between these two people, saying for the purpose of this application, that all matters because there is no reasonable dispute here. Pursuant to the local rules, they did not meet and confer with us. They're supposed to, they didn't. Instead, they persisted with a troubling pattern of pursuing media coverage rather than justice. They wanted to file the motion so that it could get out to the media that they're trying to gag Trump for being illegal. Now, such an approach by prosecutors sworn to uphold the law should have no place in this courtroom. And so we need consequences. Here's what happened. At 5:30 p.m., Jay Bratt said, we're going to file this motion later. We already read through those emails. 10 minutes later, we notified him. We said, what? 5:30 on a Friday, we object. There's no basis for your suggestion that anyone's facing an imminent danger. And so how about we meet you on Monday? Now, they responded 1 hour later because they're slowpokes. He made a vague reference, Jay Bratt. He says, oh, I don't know, it's just, something happened. He filed, there's danger. Then at 6:55, Trump's defense responded. He said, you have completely failed to meet and confer. You haven't identified any of these statements, and the local rules require you to do it. And finally, concerned that they plan to file the motion, we asked them to include the statement that we read previously, saying you guys are total losers. Now, in response, they demeaned counsel. They said, I thought you were smarter than that. What, you can't read Todd? You can't read his Truth Social posts? And they mocked the assertion that Jack's office should specifically identify the statements. Why should we find it? In Jay Bratt's view, it was incumbent on the defense to discern the social media posts and to discern the campaign emails that they're relying on. But nevertheless, he then attached them to the email. He also informed the defense that he would not include our position, but he says, we'll just summarize it for you. Then 15 minutes later, they filed the motion. The office failed to note that they first contacted the defense when they sent this into Cannon, that they declined our invitation to meet on Memorial Day. Now, despite attaching certain alleged statements to the 745 email, Bratt did not even attempt to confer regarding Exhibit 4 to the motion, which we learned of for the first time after the motion was filed. They say they've already disregarded this, Judge. A long time ago, last year in July, the court denied a motion because they didn't confer. On November 3rd, the court warned Jack Smith about a notice filing, says don't do that. In addition to that, they've repeatedly made meritless arguments. They seek sealing of documents. They seek ex parte proceedings, meaning they just try to bypass everybody and go directly to Judge Cannon. Now, this court warned the office about making sweeping and unsupported claims previously. And last month, the court already found that the office had failed to offer a governing legal framework, only making conclusory and unsubstantiated assertions about whatever Jack wants. Now, the Jack office is not campaigning for any office, as far as we're aware, but his prosecutors have pandered to the media in public filings. Trump's defense says this has included gratuitous and prejudicial language, where Bratt recently admitted that this was admitted despite the rules. Now, the office has also included lengthy explications of purported facts in public filings. They keep writing stupid things like this in their little high school motions. They say, quote, to set the record straight, and before turning to those arguments from the defense. Garland behaved in a similar fashion when he was making extrajudicial statements in January. He said a speedy trial was necessary. Now, these tactics include a public filing that's threatening you, Judge. They threatened you with frivolous mandamus litigation. They say, we're going to take you up on appeal, Judge Cannon, unless you give us what we want. And also other lawless interlocutory appeals concerning hypothetical jury instructions. The import of this behavior was not lost on Your Honor, Judge. We know you know they did this, and the court appropriately described all this garbage from them as unprecedented and unjust. On May 19th, the court also deemed it necessary to express concern over how they're treating sealed material. The court's concerns included the office's argument that unsealing was appropriate. The court noted that the court was disappointed with Jack's opportunities presented. Now, finally, just last week, in response to another troubling show of tone and demeanor at a hearing, when David Harbach was out there clapping, remember, he was like, Judge, you can't do that to me. And the judge said, just calm down, relax, weirdo. So they say, look, the rules say, Local Rule 88.9, you have to meet and confer. It's an integral part of our adversarial system. Now, they don't talk about sanctions in the rule, but you should still sanction the crap out of them. Jack Smith's office violated the local rules. The court has warned his office repeatedly. There is a pattern of unprofessional conduct in this case. In order to deter such behavior as the case proceeds, the court should strike the motion, make civil contempt findings as to all government attorneys who even participated in this. Go and get them all. I want to know who even edited this. Who ran the spell check on this document and imposed sanctions following an evidentiary hearing to determine what their motives were and their purpose was in filing what they did. It's just media. They just are mad that Trump has a megaphone and they don't. So they just respond in their filings. It's unlawful. Under no circumstances can an email exchange initiated at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday evening constitute any type of meaningful conferral. For President Trump, the fact that Jack's office initiated this on a holiday weekend is less important than the fact that the office, well aware of the proceedings in Trump's trial, took the steps to try to do this when closing arguments were set to begin in May 28th. In other words, they know they're about to be in court on another case. They file this to try to rush them and gain an advantage. Now, despite that schedule, defense counsel offered to consult with President Trump over the weekend and discussed the motion on Monday, Memorial Day, but the office barely acknowledged that request. So the failure to meaningfully confer is even more troubling in light of the fact that the parties were in court together on Wednesday. Now, the office cites in a motion on May 21st, a May 21st social media post. So they knew. So Trump posted on Tuesday. They showed up in court on Wednesday, could have addressed it on Wednesday. They didn't. They waited till Friday, knowing that the defense team had summations the following week. If the office truly believed that Trump's constitutionally protected speech really posed the type of imminent threat that they claim in their motion, they should have discussed it with us on Wednesday, not Friday. And this timing is not justified by exigent circumstances either. They've completely failed to substantiate their position here as why this is imminent. As we've noted throughout, Trump and the defense team have great respect for law enforcement agents who do their job with integrity. We will not stand in the way of credible assertions about potential safety risks. But on the other hand, we will not acquiesce to unsupported histrionics from biased and reckless prosecutors who've shown no respect for the First Amendment at all. The court is well aware of the prosecutors' failures in this regard because an extraordinary amount of attention has been devoted to the arguments by Jack's office regarding the need for sealing to protect witness safety. He's been arguing this for a long time. Defense counsel has conferred extensively about redactions, and that process resulted in a bunch of redactions. We invited Jack's office to propose other redactions, but at no time did any of them seek to redact the use of force information. They could have redacted this a long time ago if they were so concerned about this. Idiots. To our knowledge, the unsealing of these materials did not result in credible safety risks to anyone, obviously. Now, Jack's office presented no actual evidence of safety risks either. They just wanted to respond in the media because Trump was obliterating them. with the assassination plot revelation. Especially after the office's complete failure to satisfy any of these safety claims, this is pretty troubling. There was no basis for them to suggest some sort of emerging risk like we're all going to die. They filed at 8 p.m. on a Friday. No one who signed the motion, these so-called government prosecutors, could reasonably have expected the court or its staff to act on the application before business hours resume on Tuesday. Nor could Smith himself. Rather, the office plainly filed the motion in pursuit of some other objective, the media, which has not yet been identified, but should be appropriate to sanction them for that. So, for example, the motion was not even styled as an emergency motion. The rules say this is how you file an emergency motion. So they could not have expected the court to even act on the motion over the weekend. So we could have met on Monday. There was no urgent decision coming. So there's no indication that the motion discussed the application with probation, as would be required if you're going to do a patently unconstitutional modification of this. The Bail Reform Act does not contemplate a modification absent a hearing anyways. And not even Smith and his team dared suggest that the court convene the parties on Memorial Day to address it. So the local rules and the basic professional norms from Jack contemplate Trump would be afforded a reasonable amount of time to respond. Now, despite their strained and inaccurate claims about urgency, they did not even seek an expedited briefing schedule on this. There were no exigent safety concerns referenced at all. All of this to say, the timing in the motion is bad faith. And finally, while we're not even addressing the merits of this motion about what Trump said or whatever, a few preliminary points are in order. One of the senior officials who authorized the raid at Mar-a-Lago said he frankly doesn't give a damn about the optics. That is them on record. I don't give a damn about the optics. I don't care if we have to shoot half the facility. But now, Jack's office seems to care about those optics very much. Yeah. The motion quotes liberally from D.C. Court's review of the unconstitutional gag order from Chutkan, but fails to address one of the key points. Working in the criminal justice sphere requires some thick skin. Unless you're an FBI agent, then you're petrified. That Smith is, once again, attacking Trump's campaign speech is conclusively established by the fact that the office attached a campaign email. It's a campaign email. Once disfavored, but now in vogue for prosecutors driven by political animus against Trump, gag orders reflect an extremely serious threat to our constitutional traditions, especially when they're applied to political candidates. The motion goes one step further, however, in seeking to condition Trump's liberty on his compliance with what these government prosecutors want him to believe. Thought police regarding what constitutes fair argument in 2024 should not be dictated by these three prosecutors. The motion is unprecedented. It abuses our manifest. Its abuses are manifest. If and when there is an appropriate time, we will forcefully address this on the merits. But for now, the point here, they should not have filed this. The decision by Jax to do so, and do it when it did, cannot be explained in a manner that's consistent with confidence in these proceedings. And so this court should have an evidentiary hearing. We should dig into this and determine where this bias and animus came from, because we're going to add that to our selective and vindictive prosecution filing. For that reason, make these determinations, make civil contempt findings to all government attorneys because they did not meaningfully confer, and we want to know why they willfully disregarded your required procedures, Judge Cannon. Whew. Good stuff from Emile Beauvais, Todd Blanche, Christopher Keese. Powerful motion because they chronicle all of the other times that Jack Smith has just flagrantly violated the judge's orders. And so Cannon came out and gave them the old backhand. In fact, here is what Cannon said in response. Jack Smith gets slapped. She says, all right away, this is a paperless order denying without prejudice Jack's motion. There will be no gag. Why? Lack of meaningful conferral. She says, upon review of the motion, Trump's procedural opposition and the email correspondence that we just read, the court finds that Jack Smith's pro forma, she puts it in parentheses, conferral, to be wholly lacking in substance and professional courtesy. She says it should go without saying that meaningful conferral is not a perfunctory exercise. She's not happy about this. I think my mom used to say that. It should go without saying. This should go without saying. I know. Sorry, Mom. Sufficient time needs to be afforded to permit reasonable evaluation of the requested relief by opposing counsel and to allow for adequate follow-up discussion as necessary about the specific factual and legal basis underlying the motion. This is so even when a party, as you guys did, Jay and Jack, assumes the opposing party will oppose the motion, and it applies with additional force when the relief sought, which here was a gag order, at issue for the first time in this proceeding, is being raised in a procedurally distinct manner. And it implicates, the First Amendment, the Constitution. Now, because the filing of Jack's motion did not adhere to these basic requirements, it is due to be denied without prejudice. Any future non-emergency motions, Jack, that are brought in this case, whether on the topic of release conditions or anything else, shall not be filed absent meaningful, timely, and professional conferral. Now watch this. Moreover, all certificates of conference going forward shall, 1, appear in a separate section at the end of the motion. So she says, I want you to fill out this form and attach it to the back, showing me you did it. And I don't want it embedded in an editorialized footnote, Jack, with your stupid comments. Just fill out the form and attach it. And you must specify in objective terms, not like your opinion, bro. Cannon says, I want to know the exact timing, the method, and the substance of the conferral conducted. So Jay Bratt and Jack Smith just got grounded, right? Your mom came in, says, you're grounded. Next time you do this, you're going to show me you did it, and you're going to keep a chore log on the refrigerator. And when you come home, this is what you're doing. And we're going to put your initials there and right here, and I'm going to check it off when you do it. I want to know when you did your homework, what you worked on, and how long you worked on it. We're going to get those grades up, young man. Okay. Same to you, Jack. Start a spreadsheet. Failure to comply will result in problems. And I also want, if requested by Trump's counsel, I want no more than 200 words, so shut your yapping mouth, from the opposing side on the subject of the conferral. Again, in objective terms. I don't want your opinion. Failure to comply with this, Jack and Jay, with these requirements may result in sanctions. Whew, they're in trouble. Ooh, they're grounded. In light of this order, the court determines to deny without prejudice Trump's motion, so Trump doesn't get those sanctions and the total backhand. But Judge Cannon just said, Jack Smith, you have to keep a spreadsheet log, and I want to know when you met and what you talked about. Bring your doctor's note next time into this courtroom. So absolutely beautiful and exactly right. Now, of course, people like Andrew Weissmann, let's see how long we can listen to this one for. But he says, this is, let's see how long. How long do you think? 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds? Let's see.
In order to be able to curb what is happening with Trump, is there a fear that there's going to be a First Amendment issue that's going to be raised by Trump's defense?
Well, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I disagree with Bradley. I think this is something that is absolutely outrageous. I think this is the kind of thing that is going to be, when she ultimately denies Judge when Judge Cannon denies Jack Smith's application when it gets refiled, I think this will be taken up to the 11th Circuit. This is something that the government obviously cares deeply about. Indeed, the Attorney General of the United States talked about how this was a dangerous and false misrepresentation by the former president. Endangering law enforcement is the kind of thing that is the reason that you go into government to try and prevent and to make sure that you are upholding the people's safety, including those in law enforcement.
All right, those poor FBI agents. Trump said that there was a kill order, which I'm not actually like go and kill someone, but if FBI ransacks Mar-a-Lago and Secret Service or Trump's private security starts popping off, we're being invaded by some freak show force here that's in plain clothes. We can't even identify who these people are. What happens if something pops off? There was a use of force policy that enabled them to use force in the document. Now, they say it's copy and pasted from every other stupid document and search warrant raid, which you say, okay, well, do other people die in search warrants and raids? Yeah, they do. It's pretty regular. So is it outside the ordinary to say, if you copy and pasted the same thing that resulted in dead people over there, why is it not possible that there could be dead people here? It's the same policy. You just admitted that. So Garland and the rest of them now want to engage in the court of public opinion. So they file these motions and they respond that way, but it's not ethical. And it is being done because they're losing this case. He says that this is all going to be appealed and Judge Cannon's going to get backhanded. I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, it feels like Jack Smith is on trial in this case. We just had a whole litany of all his unethical misconduct, and Cannon has scheduled multiple evidentiary hearings and is going to be digging into these issues about selective and vindictive prosecution and many other issues. So we'll be here, of course, continuing to cover this. So thanks for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We got great content on this topic and many more, including in our next segment. You got to see what the Supreme Court has done, because SCOTUS has totally snubbed and given the old slap to the Democrats who demanded to meet with SCOTUS. SCOTUS says, get the heck out of here. So that's coming up in this next segment. Be sure to check that out. Here is that very segment, my friends. And we're going to carry on. We're probably going to have to open up another locals tube in a minute. Let's see how far we get. Starting with SCOTUS. And this is where we're at. Democrats get slapped by the Supreme Court. Judge Alito, Judge Roberts say, no thanks. We're not going to be meeting with you weirdos. There was a letter that came from Senators Whitehouse and Durbin over from the Senate Judiciary Committee. They're very upset that Justice Alito has flags, and his wife likes to fly those flags on their property. Some people saw those flags, said, you're an insurrectionist, and you have to recuse yourself from the Supreme Court on the Trump cases because you're helping him steal the country. And this has been part of a coordinated attack by the Democrats. They don't like when things don't go their way, so they just use raw power to remove their opponents. They've gone after Clarence Thomas. Now Alito's on the list. We saw what they did to Kavanaugh and so on. But here is what the Democrats said, because these two Supreme Court justices just ripped them in response. Alito responds, Judge Robert responds, and Raskin continues to plot on how to remove them anyways using the DOJ and other government tools. So we'll talk about that and what they're plotting. But here is the letter that came out from the Democrats. Just share this with you quickly. It's on May 23rd from these weird Democrats. Durbin and others on the Committee on the Judiciary, United States Senate. You see Durbin and Whitehouse, who I think's wife is a member of a racist club, pretty sure. So those are the two senators who sent this letter, and they're just whining and complaining. Dear John Roberts, Chief Justice, we write regarding a New York Times post that there was a flag on Judge Alito's yard associated with the J6 attack on the Capitol. And we urge you to take appropriate steps to ensure that Judge Alito will recuse himself from any cases related to Trump. Think they know they're going to get the old immunity decision. including the question of former president's immunity from prosecution in the upcoming decision. We also renew our calls for SCOTUS to adopt an enforceable code of conduct. And this is the big ask. We respectfully ask for a meeting. They didn't even say respectfully. I inserted that. Should have known I was talking about Democrats here. We want to meet with you as soon as possible in your capacity as Chief Justice and as the presiding officer of the Judicial Conference to discuss additional steps to address the SCOTUS crisis. And he said, by displaying or permitting a display of a symbol of Stop the Steal flag, which was a symbol of a flag that George Washington used, they say he violated his code of conduct. He created reasonable doubt as to his impartiality in certain proceedings, which is a wild standard. Do you think that they would apply that same standard to Judge Merchan, Judge Kaplan, Judge Chutkan? I don't think so. According to photos and contemporaneous reports, there was a flag for several days at the Alito house. It was the Appeal to Heaven flag. And you've seen this floating around. It's got the pine tree, I believe. Is it pine? That represents New England. And it has Appeal to Heaven, which references John Locke. So Appeal to Heaven is an homage to that. John Locke and New England was displayed outside another of Justice's residence. Now, this was after these flags were part of the Stop the Steal campaign. And so in a statement, Alito said that the flag was placed there by Mrs. Alito. And Alito also spoke to Fox News and indicated that the flag was flown upside down in response to his neighbor's display of political signage. And so they are upset. They say the Code of Conduct says that SCOTUS should avoid impropriety, and federal law requires the disqualification of the Supreme Court justice. Wow. So they're going to try to throw them out using the law. We'll see what Raskin says. SCOTUS also prohibits its employees, who are employees, from engaging in partisan activity. That prohibition also applies broadly. And so by displaying this flag, the Appeal to Heaven flag, Alito actively engaged in political activity, failed to avoid the appearance of impropriety. He created a reasonable doubt. And these are only the recent instances. In fact, in 2023, he opined about the constitutionality of certain legislation in the Senate. And so Thomas has also participated in J6 stuff. His wife's involvement is also problematic, and he failed to disclose debt forgiveness and other things. The rule of law is founded on these propositions, and so we call for Justice Alito to recuse himself immediately. Sincerely, Dick Durbin and racist Senator Whitehouse. We now have a response. So, Judge Alito, from his chambers on May 29th, responds to these two senators. He says, all right, dear Honorable so-called Richard and Sheldon. Says, dear senators, this is in response to your letter to me, requesting that I take steps to ensure that I recuse myself from this upcoming case. Now, as the court has pointed out, individual justices rather than the court decide recusal issues. So we appreciate you writing to Chief Justice Roberts, but you should have been writing to me. I am therefore responding directly to your letter. In it, you claim two incidents involving the flying of the flags that created an appearance of impropriety that requires my recusal. Here's what the code says. A justice is presumed impartial and has an obligation to sit unless disqualified. A justice should disqualify himself or herself in a proceeding in which their impartiality might reasonably be questioned, where an unbiased and reasonable person who is aware of all relevant circumstances would doubt that the justice could fairly discharge his or her duties. Now, the two incidents you cite there, Sheldon, do not meet the conditions for recusal. I have therefore an obligation to sit under the rules. Now, the first incident you cited in your letter concerns the flying of an upside-down flag outside the house in Virginia where my wife and I reside. In considering whether this event requires recusal, an unbiased and reasonable person would take into account the following facts. As I've already stated publicly, I had nothing whatsoever to do with flying that flag. I was not even aware of the upside down flag until it was called to my attention. As soon as I saw it, I asked my wife to take it down. But for several days, she refused. Man, it's spicy in that Alito household. Honey, you have to take that down. I'm a Supreme Court judge. Well, we got our country stolen. Well, so it stays up. All right. I guess I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. Even Supreme Court justices are sleeping on the couch. My wife and I own our Virginia home jointly. It's hers. She's a strong, independent woman. Don't you love that, Democrats? No, they don't, actually. They don't. They say that, but they don't. They love dumb, compliant women. She therefore has the legal right to use the property as she sees fit. And there were no additional steps that I could have taken to have my flag taken down more promptly. What do you want me to do? Go get an injunction against her? My wife's reason for flying the flag are not relevant for the present purposes, but I note that she was greatly distressed at the time, in large part due to a very nasty neighborhood dispute in which I had no involvement. Neighbors. A house on the street displayed a sign attacking her personally. Okay, so her rotten liberal neighbors are monsters. And a man who was living in the house at the time trailed her all the way down the street and berated her in my presence using foul language, including what I regard as the vilest epithet that can be addressed to a woman. I think we know what that one is. It says, my wife is a private citizen, and she possesses the same First Amendment rights as every other American. She makes her own decisions, and I have always respected her right to do so. Good husband. Now, she has made many sacrifices to accommodate my services on the Supreme Court, amazing wife, including the insult of having to endure numerous loud, obscene, personally insulting protests in front of our home that continue to this day and that the DOJ does nothing about, and now threaten to escalate. I am confident that a reasonable person who is not motivated by political or ideological considerations or a desire to affect the outcome of Supreme Court cases like you would conclude that the events recounted above do not meet the applicable standard for recusal. I am therefore required to reject your stupid request, my word. Now, the second incident concerns a flag bearing the legend, an appeal to heaven, that flew in our backyard of our vacation home, summer 2023. I recall that my wife did fly that flag for some period of time, but I do not remember how long it flew. And what is most relevant here was I had no involvement in the decision to fly that flag. My wife is fond of flying flags. I am not. My wife was solely responsible for having flagpoles put up at our residence and our vacation home, and has flown a wide variety of flags over the years, which I actually think is super cool. I think that's just awesome. Like, that's amazing. Like, I would love to go visit Mrs. Alito and hear her tell me about all of her flags. I could spend a whole day doing that. I'm not even kidding. Let's have some lemonade. Tell me about that one. Tell me about that one. What's that one? Look, okay, let me Wikipedia that. All day. I could spend all day. In addition to the American flag, she has flown other patriotic flags, including a favorite flag thanking veterans. There's a story to all of these. You read on where they come from, how long have they been around. They're like symbolism. They're like flashcards for success and meaning and purpose. They're just great. College flags, flags supporting sports teams, state and local flags, flags of nations from which ancestors of family members came from, flags of places we visited, seasonal flags, religious flags. I was not familiar with an appeal to heaven flag when my wife flew it. She may have mentioned that it dates back to the American Revolution. It does. And I assume she was flying it to express a religious and patriotic message. I was not aware of any connection between this historic flag and the Stop the Steal movement. And neither was my wife. She did not fly it to associate herself with that or any other group. And the use of an old historic flag by a new group does not necessarily drain that flag of all other meanings. As I said in reference to the other flag event, my wife is an independently minded private citizen. She makes her own decisions, and I honor her right to do so. Our vacation home was purchased with money she inherited from her parents and is titled in her name. It is a place away from Washington where she should be able to relax. A reasonable person who's not motivated by TDS or political or ideological considerations or a desire to affect the outcome of the Supreme Court would conclude that this event does not meet the applicable standard for recusal. I am therefore duty-bound to reject your recusal request. Sincerely yours, Samuel Alito. So I take your request and reject it. You can now shove it and get out of my office. So, very nice letter. Standing up for his wife, Mrs. Alito, flying her flags proudly. Boy, let them flop in the wind. A very nice letter from a great Supreme Court justice and an amazing husband and an amazing wife. What a nice household. So we also have now Chief Justice Roberts responding in kind. Now that Judge Alito gave Durbin and White House the old proverbial backhand, Chief Justice Roberts settles this case as well. Says, Dear Derby and Whitey, thank you for your letter. 1 second. I just snotted on myself because I said Durbin and Whitey. Oh, gosh. Golly. Back. All right, hopefully got that cleared up. Sometimes I just crack myself up and blow my own gaskets. Oh, gosh, in the middle of a live stream. Derby and Whitey in the house. Oh, gosh. Snotting all over myself here on a live stream. All right, don't tell anybody about that. All right, we're back. All right, Derby and Whitey are now getting a letter from Chief Justice Roberts in regard to questions concerning any justice's participations in pending cases. The members of the Supreme Court recently reaffirmed the practice we followed for 235 years, pursuant to which individual justices decide recusal issues. See our rules. It's my understanding that Justice Alito has sent you a letter addressing this subject. I haven't even read it. Don't even care. I must respectfully decline your request for a meeting. I don't want to have lunch with you. As noted in my letter to Chairman Durbin last April, apart from ceremonial events, only on rare occasions in our nation's history has a sitting Chief Justice met with legislators, even in a public setting like a committee hearing, with members of both major parties present. Separation of power concerns and the importance of preserving judicial independence against such appearances caution against doing this. Moreover, the format proposed, a meeting with leaders of only one party who have expressed an interest in matters currently pending before the court, simply underscores that participating in such a meeting would be inadvisable. Also copied Lindsey Graham on that one. Signed, Chief Justice Roberts. So get out of here. We're not meeting with you losers. All right. Stop your whining and leave us alone. We have that not happening. Raskin will not leave them alone. In fact, he wants to force them to be recused. Here's his stupid opinion piece in the New York Times. He says how to force Justices Alito and Thomas to recuse themselves no matter what. He says many people have gloomily accepted the wisdom that they're going to be on the case, but they're wrong. It seems unfathomable that they could be on the case. Everyone assumes nothing could be done, but guess what? Maybe that we can. He says the DOJ, including the U.S. Attorney for the D.C. District of Columbia, an appointed U.S. Special Counsel, all of whom were involved in different ways in criminal prosecutions, can petition the other 7 justices to require them to recuse themselves. Says that the Attorney General of the United States can invoke U.S. code. He says the Constitution and the federal statute, this is so dumb, mandating the judicial qualification. So they're going to use a statute that Congress passed, and then the executive will also use the Constitution, the due process clause, to say that they have to recuse. Says the Constitution has come into play in several recent SCOTUS decisions. It requires biased judges throughout the federal system to recuse themselves, saying the Constitution and Congress and the statutes, which are not in the Constitution, the statutes are subordinate law. Constitution reigns supreme. The Constitution and the federal laws under it is the supreme law of the land. Yeah, but as long as they don't conflict with the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Federal laws do not override that, no matter how hard they try. So they want to, to bootstrap the federal law. They're going to use the due process clause to say the federal statutes justify forced recusal. They say this is a recusal statute. If triggered, it's not a friendly suggestion. It's Congress's command. It's binding on the justices, just like the due process clause is. Yeah, so dumb. He's so dumb. The Supreme Court cannot disregard this law. Okay, tell them that. Ignoring it would trespass on the constitutional separation of powers because the justices would essentially be saying that they have the power to override a congressional command. They can, yeah, if it's not in the Constitution. They're obligated to override a congressional command. They think that their Congress, they can just pass the statute and it overrides everything. No, if it conflicts with the Constitution, that's what the court does. The court says what the law is. And so if this law conflicts, that's a problem for them. Now, let's bring up, we're going to lose locals here in a minute. So we're going to bring in another locals thread as soon as this one expires. Locals, hang tight. We're going to get this booted up in a second. Now, when the arguments are properly before the court, they say Roberts and others will have a constitutional obligation to recuse. And so they're saying that they're going to try to force this through. So if they get rid of Thomas and Alito, then it's now going to be basically a much higher possibility. You would just need one judge to flip and join the left. So very precarious position that we are in, my friends. Now, this is something that we're going to be continuing to cover. Democrats get slapped down bigly by the Supreme Court. Alito says, we're going to fly our flag no matter what. And shout out to Mrs. Alito. Supreme Court going to be making some big decisions on immunity coming very soon. Hopefully you're subscribed and liking this video so that you can join us when that coverage comes. And if you enjoyed this video, we've got another great segment coming up here on another Trump case. You're going to want to see it because there are always exciting updates in this one. Check it out. We'll see you over there. All right, my friends. That is it for us on the day. We are going to fire up Locals Part 2. And let's get this going. And then we will jump into your comments, your questions, your thoughts, and see what you're saying on the day here. So give me one quick second and let me get this booted on Locals. Going live over there right now. And then reconnecting the tubes for our Locals friends. And this is happening. We probably count down, probably 10 seconds as we continue on. We're going to make that edit, remove that, and then throw that back on. And boom, the tubes should be connecting themselves right now. All right. And so, my friends, we had 3 great segments today. Democrats get slapped by the Supreme Court, totally rejected. Judge Alito and his wife fly those flags high. Jack Smith embarrassed by a totally unethical filing. Judge Cannon laying it down on them, saying you guys are not even doing the basic stuff in order to get your motion over the line. And Trump addressed America, coming out, explaining we're going to continue to win. We've raised a boatload of money. We're going to see if there's any fallout, repercussion to some of what he said with witnesses, gag order stuff. We'll see if that is another thing that we have to deal with on Monday. But 3 great segments, my friends. I saw some awesome donos and super chats coming in. As per usual, we're going to go hang out at watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party today. We'd love to come see you, join us. We're going to hang out and debrief everything we talked about. But now let us hear from you. We had some great donos that came in, and we left off with Rick D. What's up, Rick D? Says, I was already a member, but for some reason, YouTube canceled it, so I had to rejoin. And we're glad you're back. Glad you made it back. Good to see you, Rick D. We got DJ Roach became a new member. Good to see you, DJ. Welcome aboard as a new member. This one from Night of Knee, another YouTube member in the house. Good to see you. We'll have member-only morning streams, but we will not have a member-only stream tomorrow morning. But we will have a member-only post tomorrow morning. Your boy's going on a hike bright and early, 6:30. So we'll make a post for our membos. It'll be more like a walk and talk, kind of a hike and talk is what we'll be doing tomorrow. So that'll be coming up, membos. You'll see that in the morning because we're going to be on the trail at like 6:30 a.m. It's going to be great. All right, so we love our membos. What's up? Janiel V says it was infuriating watching MSNBC yesterday. We played just a little snippet of what they were talking about, but it was certainly grotesque. And it's weird how they get so excited about this. Don't they have anything else they're excited about? We got this one from Marion H. What's up, Marion? Says, President Trump now more than ever. I will be donating on the regular between now and November. Stand up, speak up, people. Stop being afraid. I'm with you on that one, Marion. Yeah, I'd love for people to, if you're going to speak up, now's the time. And it might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but the people who are recoiling from you probably shouldn't be in your life anyways, because your values are misaligned. There's a lot of great people with great values out there. Find them here in our community. Connect with people. We're going to try to do more of that. We're meeting up in Vegas to try to get people connected so that we have some strength in numbers. So it's going to be great. I agree with you completely, Marion. Thank you for saying that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the very nice dono. It's a beautiful Friday. Glad you made it. We got this one from Emax Tutorial, Emax Tactical. Says, President Trump looks weary. It's understandable. Whether you are Christian or Catholic, Muslim or Jewish, rich or poor, black or white, old or young, take a moment and bathe this man in prayer. Great comment from Emax. He did look a little tired. He did sound like, little low energy, to use a Trump term. But you could imagine he just got done with about 4 weeks of trial, been traveling all over the place, facing a lot, campaigning in the middle of it all. So I think we see some humanity to him as well. We see some of the human side. It takes a toll. This stuff takes a toll. And that shows us, I think it's authentic. There's some authenticity behind it. I honestly don't know how he's even functional after an onslaught like this. It's wild. He's got a lot of stamina, no doubt. Shri, what's up in the house? Says, yet most in the MSM are still trying to convince everyone that people would stop supporting Trump if he was convicted. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. I saw Karl Rove had a headline. Well, maybe it'll take off a couple percentage points here and there. I don't know that it's going to cause a massive wave. I think we also saw some polls where they were saying people are largely checked out. Nobody really believes it one way or the other. You're basically baked in. If you're voting Biden, you're voting Biden. If you're voting Trump, you're voting Trump. There's a small sliver of independents. They're not really paying attention. They're Trump trialed out. We'll see. But I think as more of this goes on, it'll sour. Even the felony thing will sour. The country's not getting better between now and November, in my opinion. I think that the trends, the trajectory show that they are just bracing for impact. So as that continues on, this felony moniker, the felony label, the sting of it, I think is also going to evaporate. What's up, Frank L? Morning, counselor. Ted Cruz, a.k.a. Zodiac Killer, for Attorney General. Ted Cruz for AG? I could see it. If we got Lion Ted, Lion, Lion Ted, then that would be good. We got from Frank, what's up? We got Catherine Rex is in the house, says, I want to get people on board with me and contribute to my ethics complaint campaign. They may choose to ignore someone from Congress, but I doubt they can ignore hundreds of ethics complaints against Judge and Bragg. Well, I think if you have standing for it, I mean, if you're in New York and you're upset about what's happening, you're watching this, I would never encourage people to like bomb something unnecessarily. But if you're in that jurisdiction, I've got some real concerns about this judge and what's happening in my jurisdiction. I think that's something that's worth making known. What's going on? That was from Catherine Rex. We got Andrew Richardson says, love your messages and show, but why do you have a moderator celebrating this decision? One might consider this hierarchy. Well, Zulu, I think Zulu, I don't really know what Zulu's deal is, to be honest. Zulu's been around a long time, and I have a hard time. I think Zulu's kind of poking us is really what it is. I think he's kind of just poking us. So largely, I think it's probably to irritate people, to kind of irritate everybody in the chat. I think he serves a very good purpose there, to just make sure that someone's always a little bit like, what the hell's going on in the chat? You know, it's a confusing situation. But Zulu's been around for a long time. We love Zulu, and we're grateful to have Zulu. And yeah, see, it's very agitating. It's good to be a little agitated, you know? What the hell is this guy doing here? Yeah, it's good. It's good. It adds a little balance to the chat. We love Zulu. Just watching the chat. Just Zulu here says, it's to desensitize. Yeah, it's to desensitize. What's up? Okay, there we go. See? Yeah, there's some good comments in the chat. All right, we love Zulu. Good to see you, Andrew. It's good to see you. All right, it's to poke everybody. It's to be a little pokey. It's what it's good. It's good for us to get a little agitated sometimes. All right, where did I go? Where did this go? Catherine Rex, Andrew Richardson. We got Leon L. says, Trump is the world's favorite president. Trump is the world's favorite president, USA for freedom. Good to see you, Leon, lately. We got Shree's in the house. 5 months as a membo says, have a great weekend, everyone. Good to see you, Shree. Thanks for being a membo for 5 months. Glad to have you here. We've got this one, Jason S., another YouTube membo coming in the house. Ray Ronk is here. Thanks for keeping us sane. Membo for 8 months, Ray. Thanks for being a membo for 8 months. Almost a full baby in the house. Miss Ree in the house says, riddle me this. How is P. Diddy gets military-style home raid for trafficking and the video, but no charges filed, but President Trump is now a felony for bookkeeping? Make it make sense again. Hard to do it. Yeah, hard to do it. And it feels like a lot of those other things may have been covered up. The statute of limitations intentionally expired on the P. Diddy stuff. Weird. But also, with Trump, they had to create a framework that enabled the statute of limitations to be expanded, right? They manipulated it by saying the object offense was, even though it's a misdemeanor, it's enough to turn a misdemeanor into a felony because it was the predicate crime. Wild times. So that was from Miss Ree. Let's see what else we got. This one was coming in. I see K Bean is jumping in to help with the clips. Thank you, K Bean. K Bean's joining us. From Brittany Z, sharing this one, saying here, I love the smack hand drum intro, the energy. Yeah, we get all in sync. Boom, we get in sync, right? That's how we get started, baby. What's up, Brittany? Good to see you. Membo for 2 months. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. We got Jennifer's in the house. As Michael Allen Hughes was asking if Trump can appeal this today. No, the case is not over yet, so he needs to be sentenced. So it's judgment and sentence, then you appeal at the conclusion of this. But he's making his marks for appeal. So, for example, at the conclusion of the verdict, they even moved for a judgment of acquittal. Todd Blanche, Your Honor, denied. Okay, cool. We're going to appeal that too. So it's like they're etching in the appealable issues, but then they'll formally file the appeal at the conclusion of the case. What's up, Brittany Z, bringing in 5 new membos. Richard Taterships coming in. LER, Knight's Oath, Gail Wins, and Joan K. New membos, courtesy of Brittany Z. Thank you, Brittany, for bringing in new membos. Amazing of you. We got Niels is here. Membo for 3 months, 1/3 of the way to a baby. First month's the hardest. Says $50 donated to the Trump campaign from the Netherlands. Also taking 3 days off work to watch the election from an Airbnb somewhere with a hot tub. Man, that sounds great. That sounds great. I like it. Well, shout out to the Netherlands, our friends from the Netherlands. We appreciate you helping America save itself. We really do appreciate that. Thanks for donating to the campaign. Beth is here. Hit the road, Jack. Cannon is based as hell, as hell, as hell, as hell. What's up, Beth? She is. What's up? Rick D says, so basically Alito and Roberts both politely said, go pound sand. Go pound sand. Yeah. Shove it, basically, is what they said. Tina, what's up, Tina? Welcome aboard as a new supporter. Glad to have you in the house on the YouTubes. Iconic Meerkat says, please leave your thumb DNA on that like button. Please leave that thumb DNA on that like button. Smash it if you're on mobile with that thumb or with your mouse, your index finger. Yeah, there you go. So thanks for that. And thank you for clipping those for us. K Bean in the house. All right, amazing stuff. Let's say hello to our friends on X. Oh, also we had some Rumble donos. What's up from our Rumble friends? We got some Rumble rants in the house. Shout out to our Rumble friends. Let's see what these look like. So here is what came across from Rumble. We had some nice donos. We see An Evening with Uncle Ray is in the house. Says Trump is putting his life on the line for your beliefs. Biden is putting your life on the line. Yes. Trump is putting his life on the line for your beliefs. Biden is putting your life on the line for his beliefs. And China, Ukraine, Hamas, globalists, and their beliefs. Spread this message around like wildfire. Rob, yeah, has the jury been dismissed? Yes. Thank you for your service. Jury, thank you for your service. Yeah, I think they've been dismissed, but the criminal proceeding is not over yet. So if I'm a prosecutor, I'm thinking that is my end of options. My end of, well, even then, Trump will be on probation. So I think the judge might still say he's got some limitations on what he can say or do. What's up? V. Domini says, thank you, Robert. I believe there is a boomerang incoming. God's gavel is mightier than the corrupt justice system. I agree. A very wise friend of mine always tells me, God's not up there scratching his head, Rob. I say, yeah, that's true. It's true. He's not scratching his head up there. Shout out to our friend, you know who you are. Senator Joe Manchin says, Barbs loves Alaska, given this shout out, says Senator Joe Manchin, a lifelong Democrat, has left the Democrat Party and they've switched to be an independent. They are jumping the Democrat sinking ship. From Barbs loves Alaska. Very nice donos to our friends on Rumble, and shout out to our friends on Rumble. We got a lovely chat over there. Thank you for sending those in, my friends. We also have, who's chatting over there? Pax Vobis. We got Donald's Awakening and many others. Let's take some locals donos while we're here, and then we'll see if these are queuing up for us. Well, a couple of them have. We do have some locals donos. All right, let's see some of these. So Glocky was here on locals, my friends. If you want to come join us on locals, this is where we'll be heading here in a minute. But Glocky shared this. Even Europe, of all places, sees this as BS. Trump will now win big, says Europe, responding to this. Glocky says, this lady's comment on the Patrick Bet-David show sums up how bad the Democrats have screwed up. Says, was never a Trumper, but just donated to his campaign because I didn't spend 5 years trying to get this country into this country legally to end up with this corrupt prosecution and BS. From Glocky. Here's one from Flagpole Guy talking about flagpoles. Oh, that's a nice flagpole. I'm sure Miss Alito would love that one, baby. Sure she would. And here's one from He says the symbol is representative of a moral order. It requires a citizen to act in faith and courage. It does not allow a citizen to sit out the process of justice. Get done. Glocky says at least 3 of these people started at least 12 illegal wars, droned weddings, destroyed government documents, droned an American teenager, armed and equipped cartels, Russian Ukraine spies, and all the things, tried to overthrow President Trump, but not a single one of these American leaders has been indicted. And in fact, Hillary's mocking Trump for it. This old guy is in the House, says, I'm wondering if the state of Texas might now indict Joe Biden for aiding and abetting the illegal entry of millions of illegal aliens across Texas's border. If they come after us, we need to go after them. Yeah, I absolutely agree. When the Republicans are back in charge, they've been getting kicked in the nads for 4 or 5 years now. Well, really since 2016, 17. So it's time to do some nad kicking back, politically speaking. Glocky says Sean Davis is 100% correct. He says, if you're a Republican running for office, just go ahead and throw away all your elegant little policy proposals or this corporate exclusion or tax subsidy, whatever. Give me a list of which Democrat officials you're going to put in prison or get the hell out of here. There's only one way to deal with nuclear war, which is what Democrats have unleashed, and that's mutually assured destruction. Amen. Democrats declared war on the entire system. Our only option is total victory. I intend to win. Do you? Yeah, that's the game. That's the game we're playing now. So, Trump's going to be vindicated on appeal. I don't care. I don't care. They need to be indicted. 1917 Beamer says, do you think Merchan is getting something from his daughter as payoff? Well, even if he's not getting anything specifically, his daughter's getting rich. That's a benefit to dad. Your daughter has millions of dollars. You're doing well. 1917 Beamer says they will look at jurors' social media. I'm sure the Trump team will do that and see. Tobo says, people don't want to lose the justice system as we knew it. People don't like election interference. We don't like the TDS afflicted folks. Almost $40 million. Crash is here, says, our Court of Appeals and higher are loath to replace the mind of the jury with their mind, presumably because of the regularity of normal judicial proceedings. Ergo, Trump must convince a superior court that his trial was not regular. Otherwise, a jury's decision should and must be respected. In the final analysis, the appeal here will be a day late and $1 short. Manchin, quit the Democratic Party. Glocky sharing that one. MAGA hat stays, talking about going to the Supreme Court. Glocky says the calls for revenge for the people that don't like Trump are becoming a crescendo. So even anti-Trumpers are joining in on the fray. New poll just dropped from Glocky, says Trump's doing well in New York. Flagpole guy says United We Roll has this is a video with promotions for Trump from Flagpole guy. What's up? This old guy says, move the DOJ and the FAA to Wichita, Kansas, the FBI to Omaha, ATF to Waco, NSA goes to Santa Fe, New Mexico. You get the picture. Improve the economy of some cities across America, leave the White House and representatives and the Senate as only federal offices in D.C. Crash says Juan is going to spank him for these veiled attempts to name Cohen without naming him. Glocky says Trump has been convicted of more than Al Capone, not even joking. This old guy says, I have a family member who's a teacher. At the graduation, it was reported that there were 32 native languages represented among the students. In high school in Texas, for Pete's sake. Wild. Retread Medic says, thank you, Rob, and all most excellent Watching the Watcher community friends for helping me keep my sanity in these rocky seas. Right back at you, Retread. Sanity indeed. Glocky says, has anyone put any thought into wondering if going after Trump like this is also part of the West's anti-white agenda? Probably. I think a lot of things are a component of that, yeah. They can take out Trump and maybe they'll, I don't know that, I think a huge part of most things are anti-white these days. Bonnie says, Rob, I absolutely love the way you explain things using your mom. Everyone understands moms. Yeah, it just clicks, right? Like the Jay Bratt got grounded and he's got to do his homework and tell mom what the log is. It's like, oh, that's exactly what happened. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. Crash, good to see you, Bonnie. Crash says, surely Justice Alito would bend the knee to the Democrats following the head of the esteemed acting Justice Juan. He would never engage in political activity, no doubt. Crash says he is an outstanding writer. Way to go, Sam. Yeah, he's a Supreme Court judge, man. They know how to write. It's beautiful, especially when they can pop like that. When Alito can get a little bit more persuasive and he's not writing an opinion, you can just let it fly. It's almost poetry. V is never silent says, we all know if Rob is ever replaced by an AI bot, he can't be replaced. One of a kind guy. Well, thanks for that. That's a real nice compliment. Hey, Rob, you're slightly more interesting than a bot. Wow. Thank you for that. I'm just kidding. I appreciate it. Hopefully not, but we've been talking a lot about this. At Genius Network, somebody was testing some system for uploading everything you've ever said or written or done into an AI system, and then it will basically recreate you. And there's many different tools that are doing that right now, so it's pretty funny. I thought about that. Anyways, funny stuff. V is never silent. Great comments, my friends, over on Locals. Let's say what up to our ex-friends on the day before we wrap it up and head on over to Locals, and then we call it a week. We've got some great comments over on X. Fred Petamonte says, the Biden economy is so bad that even abortions are getting too expensive. Yeah, inflation. James Pepper, what's up? Jen in KC wants a bullet list. Yeah, I can think about that. What's up? Raven Madness just shared this one from Jim Jordan. What's going on here? Jim Jordan, Alvin Bragg. Oh, okay. So they're now requesting Bragg. They got a request for Bragg and Colangelo. Oh, good. Congress sent in demands on May 31st. Trial's over. Okay, so now they're demanding Alvin Bragg and Colangelo come answer questions now that it's over. Great. Great job. All right, so that is our government in action. Thank you for sharing that one from Raven Madness. We got Fact Reels in the house. Raven Madness is over there. Mike's in the house. Miss Skeeter's joining us. Anti-Mom Jeans is in the house. And good to see you. Hey, we got a nice compliment from Anti-Mom Jeans. Anti-Mom Jeans. Good to see you, Anti-Mom Jeans. Okay, so my friends, those were the great comments over on X. We have a couple other items that came in. You guys are amazing. This one from Rick D, bringing in 5 new membos. Genshikin's coming in. Sparta's in the house. We got Richard G, Cyprian Cole, Zach Guy, all coming in, courtesy of Rick D in the house. And Iconic Meerkat bringing in some more membos. Ian G, Not Ya Mama's coming in. And Connie C, Christine McCoy. We got Andy M, all coming in. And Mama Roni is bringing in Lady of Quills coming in. Mama Roni bringing in a new friend. Mama Roni. What a great name that one is. Mama Roni. All right. And so, my friends, that is it for us on the day. It's a beautiful and amazing Friday. And so I want to thank you for joining us on our early Friday stream. I hope that your week was incredible. We had a little bit of a historic day yesterday, but I think even though it was a kind of a gloomy day, it is going to lead to a lot of energy and a much brighter future. So we're looking forward to that. It's been a heck of a week. It's been a heck of a journey. As always, I feel honored that we get to go through this stuff together. I know personally, I would feel a lot more irritated and alone if we didn't have this time together. I learned a lot from you, and we have a lot of fun together, and we're just getting started here. So it's been a week. It's a Friday, my friends. I hope that your week was incredible. You're knocking out everything you set your minds to-do list, email inboxes, that slot pile of mail that you have over there, except that one, I'm saving that one. You're processing it all as the day concludes so that you can recover and unplug over this weekend. Restore your energy tanks. Rejuvenate your soul. Get outside. Spend time with the people that we love, our families, our friends. Getting some vitamin D and rejuvenating our souls, because when we come back here on Monday, we're going to need to get into it again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful weekend, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye. soon.